Vice Chair of the Peninsula Community Planning Board. Before we get started, I do want to mention that the meeting is now being recorded. So that's that disclaimer. So we're good to go. And with that said, Fred Cosmo, our wonderful chair, couldn't make it tonight. So he is at the important redistricting meeting, and he is our District 2 commish. So that's also a very, very important meeting tonight that he had to attend. So I will be running this meeting. So I'm really excited to be here and discuss all of our amazing items on the agenda. With that said, we did confirm that we have quorum. So for those of you that have access to the website and want to read along, our agenda is posted on the PCPB.net website. If you want to pull that up, you can see kind of in line of how we're going to address some of our action items, some informational items, and it'll be just a really overall good meeting. So with that said, I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:07 p.m. And following the agenda, I just would like everyone board members, please review the agenda. And at this point, you can recommend, approve the agenda as is, and we can move along. So I just need a motion to approve the agenda.
I just need to make one little change on the Ralph residence. There's a typo.
Okay.
I think now might be the time. It's not 1-17, it's 1-7.
Perfect.
I got an email from the applicant, so
Okay.
it's just a typo.
Okay, got that.
And Margaret, one of the
Yes.
projects won't be heard tonight, but I don't know that it needs to be stricken from the agenda. We can just note
Okay.
it as that.
Can you let me know which one?
I can. It's the Orchard Avenue. Actually, there's two. The Orchard Avenue ADU
Okay.
is not ready to go before the full board. And
Okay.
the item number 4, which is ADU recommendations to the city of San Diego, is also a bigger bite than we could swallow last week. So it was just a lot of stuff there. So we
Okay, fantastic.
will
So
postpone
just need a little
that.
bit more
We're gonna
time.
re-review it next month.
Okay, good. Awesome. So, okay, that cuts our agenda a little bit there.
And also, just I know you know this, but Chris Ward will be joining us about 6:30. So we'll need to manipulate our agenda and discussions to accommodate his time schedule.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Sounds great. Okay. With that said, with the amended changes, I'm looking for a motion.
Make a motion to accept the agenda with the amended changes.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Tina, you're a second. Okay. All those in favor, raise your hand. 2, 1. Got you, Nicole. 1, 2, 5, 6. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Motion passed. All right. Approval of meeting minutes. Mandy did circulate those ahead of time to the board. Take a moment to review those, and please let us know if there's any changes, additions, or a motion to approve.
I move to- Go ahead.
Tina?
Let Tina have it. I'll second.
Tina, motion to approve the meeting minutes from last meeting, and Carla second. Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hands.
Don, yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oppose? I don't see any oppositions, and then abstentions.
I'm abstaining because I didn't attend last month.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Okay, awesome. Okay, motion passed. Fantastic. All right, so board officer reports. Let's start with Brad. Do you have anything to report? No? Yes? Unmute? No? Okay.
No, I do not. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you,
I had my
Brad.
window covering.
Let's go to our secretary, Mandy Havlick. Anything to report?
And nothing to report at this time. Thank
Meeting
you.
minutes are going smoothly.
Yes, thank you.
Good. And our treasurer, Corla.
Yes, we have a balance of $1,192.81. We received generous donations from Robert Tripp Jackson's birthday in July, as well as our stipend from the city of $498.88. And we will have Zoom expenses and webmaster expenses coming up, but thanks to the generosity of our members, we're doing good. And no
Awesome.
activity.
Thank you. Very good. And then as first vice chair, I just want to report that I've been attending a lot of the subcommittee meetings. We are doing the work. There's a lot out there that we are putting the ball ahead of the production lines here and getting things done. I did attend the environmental meeting. That was pretty awesome. I don't know if we've got those students here today, Mandy, that can introduce themselves, hopefully in the beginning portions of the meeting, just because they're busy kids and they've got things going on with school. So we asked to kind of move them up to the top of the agenda to kind of do a brief introduction. But can you confirm they're here today?
I did see Caleb is here, and I thought I saw Anastasia.
So we'll
He's here as well.
we'll go into that a little bit
there you
later.
are. Sorry.
She
We're
goes
Brady
like-
bunching it here tonight.
Okay, awesome. I appreciate that. So welcome. And then just another tidbit here that I really want to stress is I've been trying to put a big focus on bridging the gap between community boards within our neighboring neighborhoods, which include Midway. I attended Midway's meeting. What day is it? Yesterday.
Yesterday.
I kindly asked DK or Kathy to attend, and DK did make some time to attend. And then also, most importantly, I really am happy to see Cameron Reed here, Vice President of the Ocean Beach Town Council. Let me tell you, Ocean Beach Town Council is doing some amazing things. They just had their election. They have new members. Congratulations, Tracy, who's been very invested with our planning board. And I'm really happy you're able to be here, Cameron, to fill us in a little bit later with what's going on with the OB Town Council, because I tell you, we support each other, Point Loma, Midway, Liberty Station. I'm trying to get a Liberty Station representative to attend these meetings. And then, of course, Ocean Beach. So it's really important to let these individuals be heard, tell us what they need from us, and vice versa, get some attention and some partnership at the end of the day amongst all the clubs and organizations. So that's my little report there, is really putting a focus on bringing us all together with our needs and hopefully be a big support to these teams. So thank you, Midway and OB Town Council. We'll hear from you in a bit. And then that's it for me. We can move along to City Planning Department. I'm not sure if Tony's here or if anybody's got information, but it doesn't look like he's here. I think they're still trying to figure out in-person meetings. But for now, it seems like majority of groups are still doing the Zoom or partial meet in person from what I'm hearing. But I know our local community groups have been doing the Zoom, which included Midway's meeting yesterday. But you guys can touch base on that a little bit more, DK and Cameron, and let us know how we can attend those meetings. Mandy?
I was just going to say the Ocean Beach Planning Board is actually planning on meeting in person in September. Tracy, is that
Fantastic.
still a go?
Yeah, Andrea is doing kind of a poll to see how the planning board members feel about it, but
Okay.
the reason why they're kind of pushing it this month is because the library wants to present plans for their redesign and they want to do it in person. So we're trying to accommodate them if it's possible and if everybody feels comfortable. So hopefully they'll be able to figure it out soon.
Please keep us posted in that. I know Fred was eagerly awaiting more information as well and examples. So that would be great, Tracy. Okay, let's move along to, it's not 6:30 yet, but Chris Ward, are you here? Chris Ward? No, not yet.
Not here yet. He will be joining though. At 6:30.
Okay, thank you. So really quickly now, let's move into,
Did you want me to go ahead and ask that the high school student liaisons introduce themselves at this time?
That's an agenda item later on.
yeah, it's an agenda item.
Oh, okay,
I'm just going
sorry.
by the agenda so we stay in line.
Okay, thank you.
Let's open it up to non-agenda public comment. If anybody's got a non-agenda public comment, please raise your hand and I'll get to you. Corla.
Yeah, since our city reps aren't here, Monique's not able to be here. I want to express my frustration with why we aren't seeing more information about what's going on. The latest newsletter from Dr. Campbell allows us to view the climate resilient plan, but it doesn't allow us to view the STVR regs or the street vendor ordinances. And as stakeholders in this area, as you so graciously announced, we're all in this together, OB, Point Loma, Midway. I think we all should be made privy to this information and we should be able to see these before they go to city council and are voted on.
Excellent, Corla. And they briefly touched that at the beginning of the Midway meeting yesterday. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. Any other hands up? Paul Webb.
Yeah, I'm not sure if anybody else saw this, but the Coastal Commission was supposed to hear the federal consistency determination on the Navwars project at their last meeting. Navwars, the Navy has pulled that and it's not going to be held, the hearing won't be held until after the first of the year. So I'll keep people posted as I learn anything else.
I really appreciate that, Paul. I did hear that as well. That's really important. Anyone else? Public comment? Oh, Tracy.
So I'll do my commission duty during non-agenda public comment. So I just wanted to let everybody know that there's been some really exciting changes at the commission to enable more equitable funding allocations. The city council unanimously approved some changes to the TOT tax guidelines, which dictates how the commission gets their money. And they've added a couple of really amazing changes that I'm just going to list off here. So these are applicable to fiscal year 23. So if you know of any organizations or individual artist groups or community groups that could benefit from these changes or the applications or funding, then I'll give you the information at the end of this. So some of the key changes were we have added 2 additional funding opportunities. Before there was just operational support and creative communities, and now there's going to be a city artist, which is going to be individual artists and artist groups. And there is going to be an impact, which is for initiatives, kind of like what we did with San Diego Practice, where we purchased a whole bunch of art for the community, so from local artists. So those are kind of 2 separate funding opportunities that people will be able to apply for now. We've also changed the track record requirement from 3 years to 2 years, so that expands our participant pool. We have changed the reimbursement process to an upfront funding. In the past, it was if you had to spend the money to get the money, and now we're actually giving the money so that they can spend the money. So it makes it a little bit easier for the smaller groups that don't have a huge amount of money in their bank, which really opens up the door to funding opportunities for some of these smaller startup groups. We've also added a couple of changes that have created more office support, more workshop training. Our applications are, you know, as everybody knows, everything with the city, our applications are kind of complicated. So, you know, it's really, really important to utilize the staff as much as possible and, you know, get them on the phone and ask them if you have any questions. We've also opened up a fiscal sponsorship opportunity. So there's a number of groups out there that are willing to be fiscal supporters or fiscal sponsors. If you're not a 501c3, you can apply through them. And the biggest change, I think, that's really going to help a lot of our applicants is we've removed the insurance requirement. Before, you had to have insurance, which is, you know, a huge cost for these small startup groups. So now, without having to provide insurance, it again opens up the opportunity to get funding to some of the smaller groups that may not have been eligible in the past. So the fiscal year 2023 RFQ applications and guidelines are available now through October 31st. And it's kind of a two-step process. You submit your request for qualifications. And then after that, the city will tell you if you are qualified to get funding. And then after that, you can submit your application and talk about what the project is and why you think it's good for funding, and, you know, the whole deal. It's a two-step process. Sorry, it's still kind of bogged down in that situation, but I'm going to put the link to the website where you can download the RFQ and you can find out more information. And if anybody ever has any questions about how to get funding for art projects for the community, hit me up, let me know. Thanks.
I appreciate that, Tracy. And with that, it's really important to get funding for that, because a lot of that art, and correct me if I'm wrong, goes to public park spaces, and there's a whole process with that, right? And so it's really
Well,
to fund
there's
kind of.
there's a bunch of different types of funding, but if you have like a, you know, a new fire station that's being created, or a library like Ocean Beach is going to be doing a lot of, you know, redesigning. So that's a good potential spot for public art.
Awesome.
The funding, the two funding opportunities are for organizations and for groups like OBMA or OBTC or PLA, you know, people who do these cultural activities within their communities, and they can get quite a bit of funding for these kinds of things, like Big Bang Boom, or whatever, the, you know, the 4th of July thing down at the Bay, they get a ton of money. Comic-Con has gotten a ton of money. So I mean, there's funding opportunities for all of these groups out there that, you know, I don't like to see it go to other places, so I'd rather have it come close to home if I can. Yeah.
I'm glad you're part of that. Thank you. Any other public comment, any updates that anyone wants to share? I have one. Point Loma Rotary Club here in our community is hosting the Ride the Point event for any cyclists that are out there that want to participate. You can get more information at ridethepoint.org. They are also looking for Tent Expo participants, preferably small businesses, to participate in this event and hopefully get to know their neighbors. The cycling portion of it is 600 cyclists only. They do not exceed that amount because it's a whole process with background checks, and they ride the hidden, forbidden, scenic routes of Point Loma Navy bases, certain sections of the Navy bases that most people don't get to go through or whatever. So it is a pretty neat event. Most of the majority of proceeds from that event, although it is hosted by Point Loma Rotary, go to the Pancreatic Research Foundation in memory of Jim Krause. So more information, you can look on that website, but it is a pretty cool event in our community.
And am I correct? And that's November 13th?
Yes, thank you, Corla. November 13th. And I was told there shouldn't be any traffic issues, and they pretty much go through bicycling routes where it shouldn't impact us too much in the community. So win-win event. All right, so with that said, I don't see any more public comment. Thank you everyone for participating, because it's important to get the word out. Let's move along to, and I'm really excited. I did receive some forwarded updates from let's see here, Office of Senator Tony Atkins. And then I also got updates from District 2, Jen Campbell's office, but I'm going to hold off on those because since they're not here, let's move along to a couple other government representatives that are here, including, I'm really excited about this one, Mr. Officer Cerullo. Where have you been?
Hello, Margaret. It's good to see you. How's everybody doing tonight? I'm good. Yes, I know I haven't been around for a while. I've been Zooming and emailing and phone calling. It's amazing how not having to go out to meetings has actually created more work with trying to zoom into everything, and everything's become an electronic world. So from the police department, let's talk about what's been going on. Summer's over. Our beach team, though, is still up and running. Beach team, instead of being on from weekends and more in the late morning into the afternoon and into the night, have been moved to during the week, and they will be coming in at 6 o'clock in the morning. And the reason is so that they can work the business areas during the day and help address some of the issues that some of the businesses are coming into in the mornings. So we still have the beach team. Remember, at one point with staffing issues, we were having to get rid of the beach team during the winter years, but that has now changed. We've been able to restaff that, and it's going to stay and continue. Staffing is always an issue when you talk about the volume of work that's coming in towards our department. We are receiving phone calls, emails, the Get It Done app. There's a lot of different things that are coming in and really creating quite a large volume. I understand that at times people are having to wait for us to respond. We unfortunately have to respond to things based upon the priority level of what's coming in. And sometimes lower volume or lower priority calls are going to have to wait a little bit longer. So please do continue to call and report stuff. Do stay on the phone, 531-2000, that's 619-531-2000 for non-emergency numbers. Once the recording starts, if you don't want to hit any of those buttons, just hit the star button. That will bypass the 3-minute recording, and that will help you get to a dispatcher 3 minutes sooner. I've recorded or timed it. That is exactly how long it takes. If you see something, crime in progress, then that is a 911 phone call, and that is an emergency. So a crime in progress that you see and you deem to be something that is of emergency nature, then do call 911. If you do call the non-emergency number and something changes in the scenario that you seem to be observing or experiencing, and then it escalates from a non-emergency to, hey, I need police now, please do hang up and go 911. And we will do our best to get there as quick as possible. And if you want to know what's actually going on in your neighborhood, other than social media, which is really not a good way to find out what's going on in your neighborhood, please utilize crimemapping.com. Crimemapping.com is a public entity. You go on your phone, you go on a laptop or a desktop, log into crimemapping.com. You can pick a period of time and see a general area of where you live, where you work, or maybe where you want to rent an apartment for maybe one of your children if they're looking to move out and you're looking to throw them out of your house. But use crimemapping.com, because crimemapping.com actually will show you not what is being discussed on social media as to what is supposedly happening, but what is actually documented as is happening. And there is a big difference between people on social media talking about events that may have happened recently or may have happened 5 years ago, but it's all getting lumped into one sort of posting as if everything is happening within last week. Go to crimemapping.com. I always tell everybody, go to crimemapping.com like on your payday every 2 weeks, get a drink, get home from work, pull it up on your computer, see what's happening, see what's trending. You can create a PDF and save it so you can compare with time. It will tell you really how many car prowls, how many home break-ins, what's going on in your neighborhood. Is there an increase in graffiti? What's actually going on in your street? What's going on within a few blocks of your house? And then what's going on in maybe the business district? An entertainment district is clearly going to have more issues than maybe a neighborhood just a few blocks away. The other thing you may want to look at is, well, what time of the day is it happening? If you're not going to the bars and taking part of the nightlife, maybe you really aren't impacted by what's going on at 2:30 in the morning, as opposed to when you're walking at about 2:30 in the afternoon. So crimemapping.com is something I highly recommend people use. It's very accurate. The other thing is you don't have to wait to see me once every so often. My partner and I are going to try to start making the meetings. I am in favor of in-person meetings. At this point, I'm so ready for it. If you want me to come to your neighborhood and speak to you and the neighbors, I did one last night in Point Loma. I'm more than happy to come to your backyard, your living room, or your front driveway, or even a dead end. And we can talk to the neighbors in regards to crime prevention, what's going on in the neighborhood, neighborhood watch, whatever you would like to talk about. The other thing, and just in closing, because I know Chris is probably coming on soon, is Coffee with the Cops. We're starting to do them again. We've done 2 so far. I was trying to do one in October, not sure I'm going to be able to pull it off. Otherwise, I will do one in November. We did one down at Liberty Station. We did one up in Linda Vista. I think the next one will either be in the Hillcrest University Heights area, or maybe I'll throw it back down in the OB Point Loma area. And just because it's in another neighborhood doesn't mean you can't come. It is open for the entire division. There's no agendas, there's no speeches. We just get coffee, everybody stands around. You can come talk to me, come talk to the captain, lieutenants, and detectives. So that is it for me. I think that Chris is going to be on in a minute. So Margaret, whatever you want to do, I'll either.
Thank you. I'm going to open up to a couple questions because there's a lot going on. And anyone have questions for Officer Cerullo? Go ahead, Angela.
It's not really a question. I just wanted to thank you for attending last week's PLOBRA meeting at the Portuguese Hall. It was super informative. Everybody really enjoyed you coming to speak to us. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I kind of felt a little bit caught off guard on that one. I apologize if it wasn't as smooth as I always liked, or more of a downer. I kind of wanted to come talk about some other stuff, and then I was asked to talk about a different topic, which is fine. So I kind of had to off the cuff it, and then I felt I kind of got off topic and took too long, but I appreciate
It was great.
your comments. Well, thank you very much.
Corla?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Officer Cerullo for his cool, calm actions today on the news that I saw about the OB palm trees. Thank you very much. It's always nice to see you on TV and intervening and keeping things calm in the neighborhood.
Yes, I did watch Channel 9's news, and I got a chuckle with Dan Plant. It was a very good experience today. I think that everybody was heard. For those that haven't seen the news, there is some palm trees that may come down in the community, and we were asked to come and preserve the peace. We did. Everybody was able to talk to different news channels, and there'll be further conversation in regards to the outcome of the trees. The trees are slated to be removed, but the city, just to throw this out there, is offering to replace any trees that come down. So, sometimes compromise isn't what everybody wants, but maybe sometimes necessary. That being said, we're sort of stuck in the middle, and we're just preserving the peace and hoping everybody has a chance to be heard, and then we move forward, hopefully peacefully from there. So thank you very much for that.
Awesome. Any other questions from the community or board? Raise your hand so I can see ya. Oh, hi, Chris Ward. Welcome. Okay, thank you, Officer Cerullo, for everything you do for us in the community, and just keep us informed. So it is my pleasure now, Chris Ward. We've been expecting you. You're right on time. You have the platform.
Great. Well, thank you. It's really great to end my day here with this board, and really a pleasure to be with you. Look forward to any of your questions you have, but wanted to give you a quick overview as your state representative in the assembly of some of the things we have been working on this year. We finished our legislative year mid-September, so that was about a month ago, and certainly so much in motion. It feels like a lifetime dealing with all the issues that we have been dealing with as a state, certainly as a community, to be able to safely get through this time under COVID. If you dial it back to when I was fortunate to start this position in December, January, during the winter surge that we all probably remember, working on making sure that we had vaccination strategies, that we had immediate assistance for renters and for small business owners that were forced to close through the pandemic that were at risk of being evicted or forced into homelessness because of their jobs. There was so much in motion, and it was an exceptional year legislatively in that normally we tackle so many of our things through our state budget, which we did, but we had to take some early actions to really make sure that education systems had the support that they need to try to open up in the springtime, that I mentioned renter assistance and other systems were in place, that counties were funded to be able to do some of the exceptional public health work that they needed to get done earlier. So it just definitely was one that, unlike probably predating my time, the legislature had ever dealt with. But we had been able to move forward, I think, on a lot of those priorities. And I know that together, trying to make sure we're getting the right information out there, we're in a stronger position compared to a lot more states right now, economically, and certainly in matters of public health and safety. We got a lot of issues in front of us. And so I've been prioritizing work on climate change, environmental protection, housing and homelessness support through our budget, and a lot of other key priority issues facing our state. I'm going to pull up a couple of notes. Along some of those lines, I know that particularly this community and so many in the Center City area that I represent continue to be frustrated around homelessness. I think you all remember that I was on City Council representing the mid-city communities around Hillcrest and North Park and downtown. So that was an issue that I really tried to understand a lot more in depth, working, of course, on low-income housing solutions, and then, of course, on some of the support services, mental health, and other assistance that we needed are key to be able to driving many of those individual successes. And we're really proud, because of a lot of circumstances, that we had more to work with here, that we have a lot more heading out the door to our city and to our local communities, and not just throwing money at it, but really trying to point those towards the housing solutions that are needed. Right now, another almost $6 billion investment that we believe the goal is to try to statewide create about 42,000 housing opportunities. That would make a significant dent for those that are currently on our streets that are suffering from homelessness, and by extension are going to be able to support over the next 2 years, I think, a marked difference in the landscape of what we're experiencing here as a community. We need a lot more for residential support for affordable housing, and so another about $10 billion in the same time period from state funds will be headed towards those opportunities as well. So record investments there. We know we've had to do a lot more on wildfire resilience. What's foremost on my mind right now is tackling some of the drought emergencies. So meeting with a lot of other colleagues and other state agency officials that are trying to make sure that San Diego is protected for its needs for water security, that our rates are fair, and that some of those strategic investments across the board are going to help protect our communities from water issues, but also from sea level rise, from extreme heat issues, and other effects that we know are coming due to climate change. To that end, we had about $15 billion climate package. Again, another key priority that we were able to use a lot of federal assistance to be able to sort of double down on many of our strategies. This isn't something that we're correcting overnight, but rather we are taking an intentional effort to try to make sure that we are turning the tide on our emissions and really trying to protect our communities against anything for the coming decade or two that we might see as a critical effect to our communities and our infrastructure with regards to impacts of climate change. Some of the work that I authored, I'm very proud that the governor signed. Every bill that I got to his desk, he actually signed, so I had no vetoes. One is actually interesting and specific to the coastal areas because, as it turns out, as I was engaging some from Fish and Wildlife and from the California Native Plant Society, we'd come to learn that there was a growing and unsustainable threat to many of our coastal plant species, specifically the Dudleya genus, but they are endemic and unique to the California coastline and some inland areas as well. And just who knew that these have become really a hot commodity for illicit and underground trade markets, particularly for overseas consumers. They can be grown in and greenhouses just fine, but poachers were coming and by the thousands, really robbing a lot of our coastal areas and sensitive habitats from these species. So the penalties didn't exactly match up with or help to deter some of that activity. So we wanted to be able to assist fish and wildlife from the ability to be able to do that, and then help protect some of those ecosystems as well. On the area of affordable housing, in addition to a lot of the funding that we were doing, one of my priorities, as I have been working on a lot of housing ideas at the city level, was to make sure that we were really truly focused on mixed income developments, that when we had affordable housing requirements built in, that they really were something that was helping out full communities. And that's important for a lot of societal reasons. But what we were finding is that some developers were actually taking their development ideas and segregating or threatening to segregate some of the affordable housing units from the rest of the structures, and denying many of those residents the ability to access common entrances, areas, the pool deck, other amenities that we have. I believe fully that, a resident, regardless of their income status, should be afforded the same opportunities. So I had a bill, it was AB 491, that actually sought to correct that so that developers cannot segregate individuals, whether they are market rate or affordable housing, from the ability to enjoy all the amenities within that development as well. We had some work that was being afforded to be able to help the scholarship program actually expand its applicability for apprenticeships or for debt restructuring or for other higher education needs. So worked with the California State Treasurer to be able to bring some of the federal conformity that recently passed a few years ago into state law, and expanding the utility of the scholarship program for even more California families. We had a resolution that is helping many of our military families be able to begin what's called a Purple Star School program. This is something I did in collaboration with the Department of Defense to make sure that select California schools had the sort of checklist of things that they need to do to show military families coming into our community that there was a welcoming environment. We obviously know, and I actually, a little known fact, I actually was a military dependent myself. My father was in the Army, so I know when families have to move every 2 or 3 years from school to school, that the upstart is not always very streamlined and efficient. We want to make sure that students and these incoming families have sort of the easy steps forward to make sure that they are a part of our school communities as well. That Purple Star School program, in conjunction with San Diego Unified, should get up and running sometime next year. So a range of issues, some really big ticket things, but we've got even more good news coming. As long as we can keep some of our economic success going, we'll be able to sustain some of this community support that we were able to afford. You all probably heard, I know it's on the other side of the hill, but we're really proud of some of the early work that we were able to do to be able to help the city preserve the Ocean Beach Pier. And so that should fully fund some of the design and environmental work that needs to be done in collaboration with the community to make sure that that community investment is there for the coming generations. We have a number of investments going into many of our community parks as well, cliff erosion research and other support to Scripps Institute to be able to protect many of our beach areas as well from some of the erosion threats that they face. And then the pure water system, you probably are aware of as well, making sure that we have what we need to provide that indirect reuse so that San Diego can be even more reliant on our own local water supply, a strong $50 million investment there. So I'm going to keep taking a lot of your requests to be able to translate those into policy and budget actions, but I'm going to maybe stop with my overview there and yield it back to the chair for your direction. Any questions you have, I certainly welcome them, but I'll just close and say it's an honor to be of service. There are so many areas that the state touches, and so I'm really trying to be responsive to any of your needs and really look forward to your questions here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris Ward. I, again, really appreciate you being here and taking the time to listen to our board and take community input. It's how we get things done, as you know, and you've got a lot going on. So thank you for your time. I'm going to go ahead and open this up to for questions. We'll start with the board first. And I believe, Mandy, you had your hand up.
Yes. Good evening, Christopher Ward. Thank you for giving us those updates. I just wanted to bring your attention to the lack of park rangers in our parks. We have like 2 or 3 park rangers that service the parks from Sunset Cliffs. They service our piers, the beaches, as well as the estuary out of the river, all the way up to Torrey Pines. And part of protecting our coastline and our parks is having sufficient rangers available to be there to provide that oversight so that they can keep people in line with, the illegal poaching or the crimes, and the damage that goes into these parks. Have you known of any real funding, contributions to filling those type of requisitions within our parks? Is there a real desire to get more park rangers
Thank
along
you,
the
Andy.
coast?
Great question. One thing that I really pushed my last year on city council was to get, I know it's modest, but it was another 4 park ranger positions in the city's budget. All those, of course, are funded directly through the city. My job is to make sure that we are having a healthy funding stream from the state down to the city for its general fund purposes, but to supplement some of that work as well, making sure that lifeguards have the support that they need to be able to do their job and respond to any emergencies that they're seeing along our coastline. And I know that this is more federal, but of course the Coast Guard is also a very strong partner as well for any of those particular emergencies that they're seeing as well to protect some of those coastal areas. So it's a broad, I guess, answer, but I want to make sure that the city has the resources so that, your representatives on the city level now will be able to help prioritize that as well. And then any way that the state can supplement those positions through other functions as well, I definitely will be looking for those solutions to be able to drive those towards our communities.
I would appreciate that. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Excellent question. Any other questions from the board? No. Community members, any questions for Christopher Ward? DK.
Yes, hello, good evening, Assemblymember Ward. Just wanted to say hello and say once again, thank you for all the work that you do, particularly on the housing front. It was really cool to be able to participate in that roundtable last week. I know that there are a lot of different stakeholders from a number of different constituencies, both city and across the state. And so I just kind of wanted to get maybe a little bit of a deeper dive into your takeaways from that. And if you got any sort of inspiration for this next legislative cycle, any priorities or any sort of pain points that you were able to identify that came from the members of that roundtable last week.
Yeah, thank you. So what DK is referring to, it made a little news, but not enough, because of course, this is one of our most pressing issues. The Assembly, there's about 8 of us that had sort of formed an ad hoc working group, and we began this fall recess trying to hit different corners of the state. So I had a chance to go to the Bay Area, Central Coast, Central Valley, and then the Inland Empire and LA areas, and then bring some of those members down here to San Diego to listen. And we had a variety of people there that kind of cover many areas of our community and opinion making to try to inform how we can actually work on the right housing supply questions, and most importantly tackling affordability at all areas, the middle income housing missing segments that we know we are suffering from here, not just in this community but across the state, working on affordable housing solutions and just what are sort of all the inputs and pressures that are going into our challenges and inability to be able to meet that market demand. I'd say right now, DK, that it is we were in listening mode and still are always in listening mode for some of those ideas right now. Our staff are trying to sort of synthesize a lot of that input from the state to find those common threads. It's not easy when we think about all the tensions between zoning questions, local issues, the costs that go into housing development, the necessary players between different areas of developers and developer types, and then of course, infrastructure support to be able to make communities actually work while providing housing at all parts of the economic spectrum that we need to have. So it is in development right now. I do not have a specific bill, but we had a ton of notes coming from that my staff and I are filtering through, and we'll continue to circulate back with community organizations like this and a lot of our other housing experts that can help us understand what are the right policies to be able to introduce into legislation. Then, of course, next year from January through September, be able to debate that legislation.
I completely understand that, and I appreciate it. No, the work that you do is phenomenal, and that was honestly one of the best, most of the educational days I've had outside of an actual classroom in a long time. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We got into economics, we got into labor issues and supply questions and community interests. I mean, it was pretty full scope.
Right. Any other community members? Now's your chance. For those of you that I can't see, anyone? Jacqueline?
Yes, thank you for being here. My question is, when are we going to see improvement in our roads? We have the most horrible roads leading to one of the beautiful places in our community. Potholes, accidents I see on SeaWorld Drive. I commute to go to USD. It's horrible. We pay a lot in taxes.
You do, I know. And so there are more reliable funding streams that have been put in place in recent years. Right now, it's going to take a lot of time to build up the decades of disinvestment that have happened. So the roads that you're mentioning specifically are really driven through the city and through local development. They have more on an ongoing basis that they are certainly they're trying to roll out and make sure that we are catching up with that deficiency, and then planning for good road conditions going forward into the future. So I know that we were able to make modest improvements over just the last couple of years because of that additional gas tax that is now funding a lot of the increased annual road repairs that are going on. The deficit is just citywide, has just been huge. So we do want to catch up. I drive over those same roads too, and I bite my tongue when I hit those potholes, but I know that more is coming, and we don't need increased rates to do it. The intention was like to actually make sure that we're connecting these dots. There's also a supply and a work capacity, a workflow dynamic, right? That we can't do everything all at within year one. So they're trying to make up that delta, in a reasonable time frame, but more help is already on the way.
Tracy.
Yeah, hi, Assemblymember Ward. I have a quick question. I watched a presentation at the Pacific Beach Town Council yesterday by Council Member Elo Rivera, and he is making moves to try to repeal the People's Ordinance. And since you were a council member here, you actually know what that is. But I was kind of curious how you're feeling about that. Are you feeling that this is something that we should, vote for, that he's in the right by thinking that this is something that, we should start paying for? And, I just kind of want to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, I do. And I, in concept, would be supportive of that. And I say this also as somebody who would be affected. I am a homeowner that also currently receives our free trash service. I know that we know that this is about, between a $30 and a $35 million suck on the city's general fund that could otherwise provide so many of the city services and programs that we also want to see happen. We know that we are the only city, and definitely the only major city, if not the only city at all, that has free trash pickup for single family homeowners, while multifamily and commercial and other users are already paying for private haulers as well to be able to haul their trash away. So it's going to be a question that ultimately would be up to the voters. The different, I think if you remember the origins of the People's Ordinance, that 100 years ago we had trash that pig farmers wanted, and that actually was a net that was an income stream for the city. It doesn't exist today, so it's not working out. So the way that would roll then is that if this went forward, it would just be an up and down vote to the voters about whether or not to repeal the People's Ordinance. That doesn't mean right away that rates would go up. It would allow the city council then to do a cost of service study to determine what the rates should be for trash hauling. And then that would be a city council action in some subsequent year.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you for answering those questions. And we've got a really long agenda here. So if anyone else has just something really quick that has to relate to the peninsula, we'll take it. But I think we got a really good report.
Thank you. And then Rachel Granadino is my field representative down here representing many of my beach communities. I know she'll drop her contact info in the chat. So if you have further questions on, state support that you need or any questions you have on upcoming legislation at any time of the year, reach out. And I look forward to being able to circle back with you all at some future time.
Fantastic. We'll make sure to flood your inbox.
Please do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, moving right along. Let's go to our other planning board updates here. And I wanted to make sure, DK, are you available to provide us a midway planning board update? I know you guys had some really good brief updates yesterday at your meeting, and I would love for you to touch base on those updates.
Yeah, no, of course. I definitely want to say thank you to Margaret. And I think I saw Mandy drop in as well halfway through. So thank you for the two of you coming down and basically doing what I do over here, right? We're just building that bridge and keeping the information flowing. I know I appreciate it, and so does our community. So good evening for those of you who don't know me. My name is DK. I'm the vice chair of the Midway Pacific Highway Planning Group, just your neighbors over here on the peninsula, over here in the neck. We had our monthly meeting for October yesterday, and I think we had our September meeting as well before the last meeting that I was at here. And so the most recent sort of high level, high profile news that's been coming out of the peninsula lately is most of you have probably seen the sports arena redevelopment project has been reset. And at this point, I want to say it was 2 weeks ago on a Monday, there was a 60-day window that opened for the various different entities who are planning on bidding for an opportunity to redevelop that site. That window opened. It closes on December 3rd. At our September 15th meeting, we had 3 different groups come and present and introduce themselves. And then just yesterday at our October meeting, we had a 4th group. And so one of the big things to keep in mind about this overall process is that there was a state law called the State Surplus Lands Act, which is really what I guess caused the previous version of this whole effort to be reset. But what that law basically says is that any time that a municipality like the city of San Diego is looking to dispose of surplus land, and dispose includes both sale and lease, right? So this whole sports arena thing is a long-term lease effort of the city to lease about 50 acres. I think it's like 48.5 to be specific, out that whoever develops on that site needs to develop at least 25% of whatever housing units that are developed there as what they call deed restricted affordable. So that basically just means that you are legally not allowed to charge more than a certain percentage of an area's average income for rent for those sites. And so basically all of these 4 different groups now that we've seen are committing to do that, and maybe even more. The group that came yesterday was a number of different women. I thought it was interesting. One of their consultants is a lady named Georgette Gomez, whose name some of you might recognize. She was city council president before Dr. Jen took over that role. She was the council member for District 9, which is kind of Kensington College area, just the other side of the 8 freeway, but still inside the city. But she basically has been our point of contact with the planning group to introduce this group. And it looks like they've got a pretty solid project in mind, but obviously it's still quite early. None of the specific details have been given out, but it sounds like they're really, I guess, ambitious, right, and aggressive almost even with respect to their ability or their desire to build that housing on that site. They didn't really get too much into the parks and open space and other details, but that's the biggest news that's come up since the last time I joined you guys at your Point Loma Peninsula meeting. Other than that, we're always talking about housing and homelessness. We're always talking about other issues in the neighborhood. It was good to see Officer Cirillo here today. He was also with us yesterday and gave us a very similar update. The other thing of note is that there is a homeless shelter that is actually being stood up inside the old Pier 1 building that is technically part of the sports arena site. And so that building is currently vacant. It will be redeveloped when the overall arena project is redeveloped. But in the interim, between now and then, the city, in partnership with the Alpha Project and the Housing Federation, are standing up a shelter that should seat about 45 beds, is what I've been told. They're expecting to open their doors in late November. So they're not open yet, they're not functioning yet. They're just still doing their due diligence and getting things set up there. But we had an update from the Housing Commission there as well. So that's the gist of it for me for now. Always happy to answer any specific questions, but I think that's the latest and greatest from us in Midway.
Yep, that's it in a nutshell. Any questions for DK or Midway? Anyone? We frequent that area quite a bit. Target's got a lot of Halloween items right now. Mandy.
I just had a really quick, I was kind of in and out of that meeting again, my kids, killing my style, but were there any discussion about the sports arena site, and are they going to remove the sports arena or just reface the exterior? Was there any discussion that I missed about that with any of the proposals?
Yeah, to my knowledge, the group yesterday did not definitively declare that they plan to replace the arena. They said that they do have a company called JMI Sports. JMI is John Moore's. He's a local billionaire. He's been around town for a long time. I think he was the owner of the Padres back in the day, and was instrumental in building Petco Park, if I remember correctly. But he's got a company that basically does arena things, and so that's their arena partner. But I don't recall if they said specifically whether they're going to refurbish or replace that arena. There are 3 other groups, like I said, who all came last month in September. And one of them for sure has committed to building a brand new arena. That's what they call the Midway Village Plus group. Brookfield is back there, the group that was selected last year. It's separate from Midway Village Plus, separate from this Monarch group that we saw yesterday. But I believe they are also planning on building a new sports arena, although I don't think I've seen it definitively written anywhere. I think I've just had conversations and they've indicated that they're interested in. But to my knowledge, the only group that has definitively on paper, in the press, on the record, committed to a brand new arena is the Midway Village Plus group.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Thank you.
And if I can say something as well, yesterday from that meeting, I was a little confused on who's proposing this development project, the group, because they stated, well, Georgette started off with her introduction and that she was involved, but they mentioned that they were working with Essex Group.
Essex
was one of the largest apartment owners for affordable low-income housing. And they also were working with the Moniker Group as well. And they were also working with 4 organizations on this project. North Development they brought up as well. It was Monarch, Essex, and Eden, which are the largest, oldest nonprofits in San Diego, I guess. I didn't understand. They all are going to come together on this development. It was just real vague.
Yeah, no, I can try to take a stab at clarifying that. My understanding is, like I said, this site itself is almost 50 acres, which is quite a large footprint. And the community plan itself, as well as what they call the notice of availability, right? The document that the city has put out to formally initiate this redevelopment process. Those both call for a variety of different things to be built on that site. And so what I'm seeing from a lot of these different respondents to this notice of availability is teamwork, right? You're getting different folks who have different specialties coming together to basically collectively design, and ultimately, one of them will build out this 50-acre redevelopment, right? So yes, there's a sports arena involved. Yes, there's housing involved, but there's different types of housing. And what they've done is they've basically pulled different types of housing developers, right? Some people specialize in luxury housing. Some people specialize in affordable housing. Some people specialize in what they call the missing middle. So kind of like a market rate type of housing that's restricted to a certain threshold. And so what you saw with these different groups basically are the different specialists, right? Some folks are good at building parks and running and operating those things. And so, like I said, that John Moore's group, that's going to be the group that ultimately designs and builds and I think manages the arena if they were to be selected. Norwood Strategies, which I think is there's a couple different consultants and firms basically. So I would just look at it as you have a couple of different teams who are all, it's almost like a group project, right? You've got different people who are pulling in the same direction. But there are 4 different groups, 4 different teams, if you will, that are all sort of lined up as of this moment. So yesterday we had one of those groups. Like I said, in September, we had 3 of the other groups. And I think that's the best way to look at it right now. We just refer to Brookfield as the Brookfield group, but that Brookfield team has like 5 or 6 different groups as well, including AEG or ASM Global is what they're called now, and a few of those other different partners, if you will.
Thank you. That's really thorough. Any questions for Midway and DK? They've got a lot going on in that community. No? Thank you, DK, for making it. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right, Ocean Beach Planning Board. Tracy, can you give us a little heads up?
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of like projects or anything that we looked at last month, but one of the things that we continually look at, and we've been debating for now, 2 months or whatever, is there was a code update that the city council has passed, but it hasn't cleared coastal commission yet. And this code update actually allows for eating and drinking establishments within transit priority areas. A minimum required parking can be replaced by a placemaking project if a temporary use permit is obtained in accordance with section blah, blah, blah within the CNCO-CV zones. Minimum parking requirements can also be replaced with bicycle parking at a ratio of 2 bicycle parking spaces provided for every required vehicle space. So this was brought to the Transportation Subcommittee, and we thought, heck, this is kind of a cool idea. It allows, people to replace some of the parking spaces in the eating and drinking establishments, like people who own parking that are eating and drinking establishments, allow them to actually replace some of the parking spaces with bicycle parking. And it was kind of called to our attention that Ocean Beach doesn't have any CNCO or CV areas. So the first month that we looked at it is like, okay, well, does it really matter to Ocean Beach, and should we even weigh in on this, right? So then we kind of went back to the drawing board at the Transportation Subcommittee, and we talked about it some more, and then we decided, yes, we do want to weigh in on it. So we brought it back to the board, and then there was a bunch of discussion about, do we want to ask that Ocean Beach is included in this code update, and that if we could get Ocean Beach to be included in this update, then would we want to allow it? And so of course there's we don't want to give up any parking, and then there's the people who are like, yeah, bicycle parking, and then there's the people who are like, we want only secure bike parking, we can't allow just bike parking, the racks out front because bikes are getting stolen, and so it's become this big giant debate about whether or not we want to support this code update. And so our next step is to actually invite OBMA to the next meeting and ask them what they think. Now, obviously, something like this is only going to affect a couple of businesses in Ocean Beach, but it might affect a lot more in Point Loma, because you have a lot more. I'm sure you guys have some of these CNCO and CB zones, right? So it might be something that you guys would want to take a look at and weigh in on. And just, it would be really interesting to hear what you guys think about this, because obviously, I'm not sure how parking challenged, a lot of your areas are, but Ocean Beach is really parking challenged. So, a lot of people don't want to give up those extra parking spaces, and they also feel like it would be a giveaway, and that, we need more parking than we need bike parking. And, so there's been a really big debate about it, and it's gone on for months now, and we can't seem to come to any conclusions. So it would be really interesting if you guys would take a look at it and kind of, determine whether or not you feel that it's something that you would want to support. So that's like the biggest issue that we're facing right now. We also looked at the ADU, plan. And we have actually decided that we would like to have a pro and a con at our next meeting. So maybe we can, get both sides of the situation to present at our meeting. I don't know if you guys are looking at that tonight or not, but we're holding our opinion on that until we see a pro and a con. So that's basically the two big things that we've been discussing at the planning board.
I really appreciate those updates. Do you mind sending Fred and myself an email of what you just stated so we can review and then bring back to the appropriate subcommittee for discussion, and then eventually board to take action if deemed appropriate?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
And
And give me your
I
next
know that
meeting details as well.
Yeah, and I know that Nicole Burgess has, she's the one who actually brought this to the Ocean Beach Transportation Subcommittee. So,
Awesome.
She has her opinions on that as well. And Mandy's been involved in this whole going around in circle of discussion.
I've been involved in that debate. So
it's like, it just, parking is so precious in OB that, people get really excited about it. So, any changes is something that we all really need to consider here. So I'll send you what I have and you guys can dig.
As I mentioned, we can get it to the right parties. Questions, comments? Anyone? Nicole, do you have anything to?
Thanks, Margaret, and thank you, Tracy, for the updates. I want to just let you guys know that there's quite a few code updates, so it's something worthwhile to look into. And you're actually not even tapping into the non-residential parking reform that doesn't affect any of the coastal areas, even PB and La Jolla. So there are definitely some concerns as our city tries to be more progressive and try to try to get people out of their cars and try to provide other options. We have to compromise, right? So just a couple of things, we can have these discussions at more transportation, but I think they're going to go to council probably fairly soon. So just if you want to personally weigh in, it's going to go to the planning commission. And then just lastly, I did hear, is another one that's a code update is no drive-throughs in transit priority areas. And I heard all three of our local communities actually oppose that one. And I was kind of like, well, wait, should we not have these discussions? So yes, I appreciate the discussions and weighing in, and I think it's important. So thank you, Tracy, for bringing those to the board.
Thank you, Tracy. All right, let's move along to OB Town Council. Cameron Reed, are you available to provide us with some amazing updates?
Totally, and thank you so much for having me. So many updates. I'm going to go kind of in calendar order. I think that's just the best way to present it. Next week, we actually have a Narcan training on Zoom that's being hosted by Say San Diego. They presented at last month's public meeting, and it was just kind of an opportunity that they kind of suggested or mentioned, and we just were really jumping on it. And we just thought it'd be a great thing to bring to the Peninsula. Everyone's welcome to join. It's a Zoom meeting, but it's basically a training, and anyone who trains is qualified to at least receive a free Narcan kit that you can be then, able to dispense if needed for, any situation. But as we see more and more unfortunate opioid overdoses in the whole area of San Diego, not just the Peninsula, I just think it's a great opportunity for everyone to have a little bit of safety in their pocket or purse, or at least at home. So that's going to be October 25th. Our recent newsletter has the Zoom link and the kind of registration, but if anyone didn't get that, feel free to reach out, info@obtowncouncil.org. I'll stick that in the chat. That's kind of our go-to question hotline for anything, info@obtowncouncil.org. Following Monday's training, we actually have our last public meeting of the year. That's going to be Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. We do our meetings just like this. We kind of talked about this earlier. If people are back in person or virtual, we're staying virtual for our last meeting. Basically, our meetings are hosted virtually, but then they're also simulcasted on Facebook for the general public and anyone who's not on the Zoom to kind of participate, live chat, ask questions, and then we just kind of relay back to the main board and our guest speakers. We found that the engagement level at our meetings is just double, triple, quadruple our typical in-person meetings. So kind of going forward into the new year, when things are feeling a little bit more normal, we're trying to really leverage that hybrid model and figure out how can we have maybe a public meeting with a virtual space where people can still engage from home. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, October is our last public meeting of the year. We kind of go dark for the holiday season. We got a lot of great events coming up, and I'll get into that. Starting with November 9th is going to be the Taste of OB, or maybe the restaurant walk that you may know of. That's going to be, the first second week of November. Tickets on sale next week, starting on Wednesday. 40, 50 restaurants, bars, breweries. It's a similar event we've all seen in the past. We're really blessed to feel like we can get back a little bit in person and really get around the neighborhood and sample all the great new restaurants and a few of our favorites that have been here for so many years. Following November 9th is going to be the holiday parade, and it looks like it's going to look like a normal parade. Back down Newport in person, marching bands and all. We're getting final city approval and all the permits lined up, and it's looking really good. I think everyone knows that Oktoberfest was held the past couple of weeks, and they got their permits, so we're feeling really good about ours. So the applications for that will go live in the next about week or so to be in the parade, but obviously come down first Saturday of December, and about 5:30 sunset when it kicks off. And yeah, we're just so excited to be able to kind of get back into a little bit of that OB tradition. A few days before the parade, we will be putting up the OB tree. We've got a couple in mind for the OB tree, but if you're, in the community and you're looking at your tree in your front yard or backyard and it's leaning a little bit, or it's breaking up your sidewalk, or you're thinking of cutting it down, then let us know. We don't cut down good trees. Obviously, the hot topic this week is palm trees, and we won't be putting up a palm tree, but we only want to take down some star pines or something that is kind of disrupting your house or your community. So if you have one in your backyard, let us know. We're not set on anything. We cover all the costs. It's not cheap, but we really hope to have a really beautiful tree this year, but still kind of quirky, possibly leaning. Hopefully it's leaning. We all want it leaning. Following the parade will be December 9th. That's the holiday auction. We're gonna do the auction the week after the parade instead of the week before. We just feel there's a lot of things to do in the coming weeks, and just giving us an extra week to have the holiday auction. That'll be Thursday, December 9th. We're still putting the details together. Last year was pretty much completely virtual. I think we'll go for another hybrid model there, have a little in-person, have a few beers at one of the local bars and buy some things we don't need, but it all really goes to the community and helps out all of our initiatives. But we'll also still have an online function too. So if you can't make it out that night, there's other ways to participate. And then the following week, kind of the wrap up to the season, is obviously the food and toy drive. I think this is like 25 years going strong. That's going to run from Monday the 13th all the way to Saturday the 18th of December. That's just going to be, obviously, it's the most amazing event I think we put on all year other than the parade, and one of the most impactful for the community. There are so many families in the Midway in Point Loma that still receive packages just as much as OB. So we catered all. We're shooting for, we did 150 families and seniors last year. We'd like to do at least that again, if not more. This is another year of COVID. I'll have another year of lost jobs and instability. So if you know of those in need, our application is already live. If you want to volunteer for anything I've just mentioned, most of those applications are live, or just reach out, info@obtowncouncil.org. We can point you in the right direction. If not every event, or one that really suits your needs and wants, happy to help out. Another opportunity to help out is also sponsoring. There's opportunities to sponsor the OB tree, signage, the parade, banners, our VIP deck. There's so many ways, from digital marketing to physical banners to just a presence in social media. We can suit whatever you're thinking. But a lot of these events are very expensive. We are an all volunteer organization. And then this year, we're very excited to announce, due to our recent acquisition of a 501c3, the donations are tax deductible. So for the first time ever, any donations will be tax deductible for both the food and toy drive or some of these sponsorship opportunities I was speaking to. So yeah, it's going to be amazing. It's amazing it's already here. Like, where did summer go? Obviously another unusual summer like last one, but at least this year the events are starting to look a little bit more normal, and we're really excited about it. Obviously we've added Tracy to the board and a few other faces, and everyone's just hit the ground running, and it's just, yeah, it's going to be an amazing fall season, and I can't believe it's already here. So, and we're going to announce the parade theme and everything, like I said, in about the next week. So stay tuned. We'll have holiday swag, and we get our cool shirts like we do every year, and just, yeah. And we should have another holiday beer. I'm still finding out if that's gonna happen, but I think it's gonna start brewing in the next week or two, and that way it'll be on time to crack one for the parade. So very excited. Open to questions. I know it's a full agenda tonight, but any
Yep, I'll
other
take a few
questions?
questions. And really quickly, how do we find you, Cameron? I know that your town council is all about memberships and the membership's free.
Yeah, I'll put a couple links in the chat. Like I said,
I know you guys are very active on Facebook.
We do, yeah. Our Facebook and Instagram is where most of our communications go out to. We're leveraging also our email database, like the newsletter that just went out in the last week. So that's also to help kind of get to people who are outside of Ocean Beach who want to get involved. Sometimes people locally just kind of hear things and maybe they don't follow social media or have social media. If you're not on Facebook, you can still watch our meetings. Our Facebook page is public. People always ask that question. But I'll set a membership sign up link. Obviously, it's free. Residential members are in the 921 zip code. Supporting members are outside of that. But there's so many other ways to get involved other than
And it's not all about events, right, Cameron? You guys fight for other stuff that's
we do.
an OB, and I admire that a lot. So
yeah, it's been a busy summer with the vending ordinances and just always trying to get these politicians to listen to us and
exactly
voice
and
our
they're listening.
Opinion.
Questions, comments, anyone? OB Town Council, now or never. Mandy Havlick.
I would just like to again thank the OB Town Council. They had allowed me to present regarding the Kate's trees planting commitment. And you mentioned that you guys are looking for trees for your Christmas tree at the end of Newport. I'd like to maybe ask that you possibly consider a donation in honor of that tree you cut down to in good faith as an investment in the environment for our community, to consider that organization.
Yeah, definitely, man. They'll bring that back to the board. Thank you.
Yeah, and I do want to let you know, Cameron is a really big community advocate and he does a lot of great work. I want to give him a shout out. Him and his wife helped clean up the Ocean Beach Elementary School garden. And I used to be the garden coordinator for that. And that little garden, I'll always love that little garden, but it does hold a little place in my heart. And I really appreciate the work that you do. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else? Questions, comments? I'm sorry, Cameron, you want to?
No, I was just gonna correct Mandy. She's actually not my wife. She's just a fellow board member. But we work really closely.
Oh my God.
Together, so.
I'm so sorry about that. Apologies.
I'll tell Stephanie. She'll love that. She'll love that.
Oh my goodness.
All right. Again,
Apologies.
thank you for your time. I know you made the effort to be here, Cameron. I truly appreciate it, along with the community. And we hope that OB Town Council does attend our meetings in the future and provide us those updates. And maybe in the future, if you need our support, we're here for you.
Well, hey, join us next Wednesday for our public meeting. We have Nathan Fletcher coming on to give a community update similar to Chris Ward tonight. And then we're also going to have a presentation about the redistricting. So I know you guys know a lot about that. So it's going to be another great meeting next week. So we'll be tuning in on 7 o'clock. Thank you so much.
We'll be there. Let's stick together.
Definitely.
All right, now what the planning board's all about here. Mr. Joe Holasak, want to take us away with some, oh, actually, before I forget, I have to read these little updates here real quick for you. I apologize. They were sent via email. I'll go pretty quickly here, but the first one is from District 2, Jen Campbell's office. Monique Tello sent an email basically stating PL Newport Avenue tree removal. It says here, our office is always saddened when trees need to be removed. There was a protest of community members this morning at the site of the tree removal. The city was unable to remove trees this morning. The San Diego County Regional Airport Authority is responsible for operations at San Diego International Airport and is required by the Federal Aviation Administration and California Public Utilities Code Section 21659A to proactively mitigate and prevent future effects on airport operations by ensuring vegetation does not block or impair instrument or visual operations at the airport. The purpose of trimming or removing the identified palm trees is to ensure the safety of the community and the flying public as planes approach San Diego International Airport. During inclement weather, where visibility is impacted, the FAA reroutes aircrafts to approach San from the west. The city of San Diego owned palm trees located in the public right of way adjacent to the neighboring homes exceeds or will soon exceed acceptable elevations under federal standards, intruding into the airspace that surrounds the airport. We understand the impact that this has on the community, but unfortunately, it is something that must be done to protect the traveling public and community. We will continue to work with the community and involving agencies to ensure the community is aware of any future work that must be conducted. Point Loma Library closure. Repairs are being done throughout the Point Loma Library and is currently closed for the foreseeable future. A targeted date for staff's tentative return to the library is October 26, 2021, which will allow the library to reopen for holds and pickup. At this point, there is no estimate when repairs will be finished. To allow patrols to return the building, holds that are currently at Point Loma will remain there, and patrons have the option to cancel their holds and have their names moved to the top of the list. As holds become available through the closure, patrol holds will be routed to the Pacific Beach Library for pickup. We apologize for the inconvenience and can't wait to welcome everybody back as soon as possible. Street vending. The council president has scheduled to bring a street vending ordinance to the full city council on December 14th, 2021. The council president and staff are working on details of the ordinance, which will be available leading up to the scheduled city council meeting. If you have suggestions or feedback, please feel free to reach out to our office or directly to me, which is Monique Tello. Thank you. Her phone number is 619-236-6622. Other contact is 619-782-3420. Her email is moniquet@sandiego.gov. And that is the report from District 2, Jennifer Campbell's office. Comments, questions? I won't do you any good. It's best to just email her directly. Sorry. All right. Let's move along to Office of Senator Tony G. Atkins. This is the state report for September 2021. California Legislature update. The state legislative session for the year ended on Friday, September 10th. October 10th was the final day for Governor Gavin Newsom to act on all legislation on his desk. The governor ultimately signed 770 bills into law and vetoed 66. Update on Senator Atkins' bill, SB 1, Sea Level Rise Mitigation and Adaptation Act. Thursday, September 23rd, SB 1 was signed into law by the governor. This bill empower local and regional governments to better plan for the impact of sea level rise by expanding existing grant programs to allocate up to $100 million in total of annual funds. SB 9, the Home Act. Thursday, September 16th, 2001, SB 9 was signed into law by the governor. This bill would enable homeowners to create integrational wealth and widen access to more rental and home ownership opportunities for working families by streamlining the process for subdividing a single home. Huntington Beach oil spill updates. Senator Atkins is closely monitoring developments with the oil spill cleanup effort along our coast and is in conversation with Unified Command, which includes San Diego and Orange counties, along with the United States Coast Guard. In addition, the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, in coordination with local organizations such as Coastkeeper, Surfrider, and SeaWorld, are all working tirelessly on the cleanup effort and assisting with rescuing affected marine wildlife. Most recently, the California Department of Justice is now investigating the oil spill. San Diego residents can be an important asset to Unified Command. If you see tar balls on San Diego beaches, Please report the incident and provide your contact information to officials by emailing wildlife.ca.gov or calling 1-877-823-6926. It is crucial that you do not come in contact with any of the tar balls you may see. They contain hazardous chemicals. That cleanup work is for trained shoreline cleanup assessment teams and contracted cleanup crews equipped in protective gear. If you would like to sign up to volunteer or assist with donations towards the cleanup effort, you can visit www.socalspillsresponse.com. Caltrans, Monday, October 18, 2021, a first in the state collaborative outreach program between the City of San Diego and Caltrans was announced to engage in outreach and support people experiencing homelessness along state freeways. These partnerships allow the city and state to have more coordinated approach in addressing the issue with encampments on our freeways and helps ensure that people who are sheltering in unsafe conditions are provided with the necessary services to move them into stable living conditions. The current contract issued by the City of San Diego program spans from October 21 through June 2022. If successful, there are hopes to expand the program statewide. Wednesday, October 20th, Caltrans launched a new pilot program that offers to pay Adopt a Highway volunteers $250 for highway litter removal as part of its larger Clean California initiative. The program currently covers 13 California countries, including San Diego, and Caltrans expects to expand the program across the whole state in the coming months. People and businesses interested in volunteer can visit www.cleanca.com for more details. For any questions regarding this report, please feel free to contact cole.reed@sen.ca.gov. That completes those two reports. Any other community or government individuals?
Real quick, Margaret, I guess I was at a board meeting with the Carrillo National Monument, and the tar balls have shown up in the tide pools.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if that's been
reported. Those need to be reported ASAP.
Right. So they were on it, but it was right up during a board meeting.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Thanks for reporting that. All right. So with that said, we are going to move over to Joe. Joe, are you here?
I am. And Margaret, thank you. Before I get started, it was my intention at the beginning of this meeting when we modified the minutes to omit items 2 and 4, but somehow items 2, 3, and 4 got deleted. So I have the applicant for the Lancaster residents on this Zoom call, and they would like to be heard. So I don't know how we modify the meeting minutes, but if we can do that, that's fine. Good. Okay.
That's fine.
Thank you so much. So the first project we have is a Process 3 CDP. It's for renovations of an existing single-family residence, which consists of a new 660 square foot garage, 360 square foot addition to a basement floor, and a 577 square foot covered roof deck. It's at 616 San Antonio Avenue. Our applicant is Kevin Leon. He is on the Zoom call. It's a beautiful house down by the beach down by Kellogg's. And basically the owner of the house wants to have an accessible garage off the street grade with an elevator up to the residence so that they don't have to drive up a steep or walk up a steep driveway from the where they park. It's a very nice area and it's a very nice remodel. We had the applicant come back before us for 2 months because of some minor items, but it is a very steep hillside lot, and we wanted to be sure that they properly addressed the coastal height limits as well as the property limits, which they have demonstrated. So with that, I'll turn it over to Kevin Leon.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. Can I share my screen showing the plans?
Yes, you have screen sharing capability.
Thank you. My name is Kevin Leon. I'm with architect Mark Lyon, representing the owners, Mr. and Mrs. Ralph for their project at 616 San Antonio Avenue. And so like Joe mentioned, they're wanting to bring down the garage to the street level to avoid a steep driveway. And so they're requesting coastal development permit for the subterranean garage. And then they would also like to expand the recreation room above the garage and add a cover over the existing rooftop deck. The property is 6,245 square feet, located in the RS17 zone. The allowable FAR of the property is 0.58, and we are proposing to add 1,093 gross square feet, which will bring the FAR to 0.57. And like Joe mentioned, the property is sloping with about a 21-foot elevation from the back of the property down to the street. And so our design is to add a garage, a subterranean garage, to avoid the steep driveway. And then above the garage, extend the rec room to give them more space. And then up on the main floor of the house, there will be no improvements. And then up on the rooftop deck, they want to add a cover to cover a portion of that area along with the fireplace. So we've looked at the property, and as far as meeting the height limits, the property, and also the 24-foot angled side yard setbacks. This is the elevation from the street with the garage in the front, the new addition right above it, and then the main house further back, and then even further back, the rooftop deck up above. And so, as you can see, the house is terraced back into the hillside, hoping to lessen the impact of the front of the property and also the landform. And so with that, we believe that this project is compatible with the neighborhood. And I'd like to thank you for your time. If you have any questions, I'm available. Thank you.
Yes, Don.
Was there any comment, opposition, or support from the neighborhood?
I don't believe so.
I think there was somebody that had attended for a few minutes and left. Wasn't there, Joe, at one point, or Corla?
Yeah, nobody's really been there either side of this project. It's a challenging site with a steep slope and a challenging project in the hillside there. So.
And what was the vote of the subcommittee?
It was unanimous, Don.
I had a question. How much square footage of excavation will there be, and what's proposed to do with the dirt that's excavated?
We figured there would be 94 cubic yards excavated for the new garage, and it would be exported off site to a legal site.
Okay, thank you.
So Sam, that's about 10 truckloads.
Yes. That's not unexpected. I've looked at that. I walked that area and I know that site very well. And it's a very difficult setting for that house.
Do we have any other board comments? Discussion, community? Go to the community. If not, we'd need a motion. Correct, Joe?
Paul's raising his hand.
Oh, go ahead, Paul, sorry.
I was going to move that we recommend approval of the project.
Okay, fantastic.
I'll second that motion.
All right, so Paul Webb made a motion, Mandy, and then the second is Sam. In favor? All right, so all those in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It looks like it's unanimous. All opposed? Nicole, are you opposed?
No, my hand.
Oh, okay. I was just, your hand was still, okay, sorry. Any other
What, so Margaret, is that
I can't.
13th?
Yes, and I'm gonna abstain because I can't vote as chair, right?
Okay.
But yeah, it sounds like a winner. Motion passed.
Kevin, thank you for working with us. Thank you for bringing it back a second time and for clarifying all of the issues. We had a pretty, tough ARC review set of questions for you. So I appreciate your answering those for us.
All right, well, thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yes, thank you.
Joe, any other community updates in regards to upcoming developments or anything you want to share?
No, but I do want to bring up, Margaret, the Lancaster ADU that was mistakenly stricken.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
From the minutes at the beginning of this meeting.
Okay.
So this is another coastal development permit. This is a level 2 permit, and it's basically for a freestanding 1,200 square foot ADU with a roof deck. It's at 4436 Coronado Avenue. The applicants are Andy Crocker and Rodrigo Villalone. And I think, I haven't been looking at the page lately. Andy, you're on the phone, right?
We're both here. Rodrigo.
You're both there. Oh, there you are. You're both there. Great. So basically, this is, again, a freestanding ADU. It's at the rear of a fairly large property. Kind of in the middle of the Point Loma area. It's a nicely designed ADU. I think they did a really good job on it. It was also voted unanimously for approval by the Project Review Committee. So with that, guys, if one of you wants to do a quick screen share presentation.
Yes, I'll take it. Sorry, 1 second.
You bet.
Okay. Joe, thanks again. As you said, this is a 1,200 square foot freestanding ADU. It is intended for the homeowner's family, parents to live there, so it's not going to be rented out or anything. It's private use for the family. You can see here, the first floor of the ADU is the 720 square foot ADU residence itself. There's a 480 square foot second level, which is meant for an office for the homeowners. And again, a roof deck. Our proposed FAR is 0.52 and the max FAR is 0.58. So we are well below it. I'll move to the plans. Here we'll start with the lower level. Again, this is a 720 square foot ADU with kitchen, bathroom, and bedroom that opens up to the existing yard. Upstairs is the office with another full bathroom, and then accessible to the roof deck through the spiral stair. It's a relatively flat lot. We're proposing to build it in this backyard area here off of the existing alley. This is our site plan. So we can see here how it sits on the lot. There is existing deck that comes down to it, to a kind of communal area here. And again, here's the alley. Again, the lower floor plan, second floor plan, and then our roof deck. And just quickly go through some elevations. Proposed north elevation. This is viewing the ADU from the alley. So you see the stair and the door accessing the office upstairs. This is viewing, the second drawing down here, is viewing it from the home. So you see the bedroom, the office, and then the patio. This is viewing it from the eastern neighbor. The only windows on this elevation are in the bathroom and then the kitchen and the office upstairs. And this lower drawing is viewing the ADU from the western neighbor. And just kind of sections showing how it all works together. And we are under the coastal height limit. You can see through here by a lot. And we are within the allowable FAR, so we hope this will be approved. Thank you, Joe, and thank you, everyone. If you have any questions, both Andy and I are available.
Thank you.
questions for Joe or Rodrigo? Board member? Sam?
Yes, I wonder how many parking places are on or parking spots are on, including the garages, are available now, and how many will be available after the addition?
We're proposing one extra, so we're actually adding one more back here, accessible through the alley.
You also have garage parking, I believe.
We do. We have a
Correct.
existing one-car garage.
Yeah, one car garage, and then there's the driveway spot as well in front of that,
Exactly.
plus a new one in the back next to the ADU.
And again, Sam, the ADUs presently are not requiring parking, so that was not we discussed it, but it wasn't a critical path issue.
Yes, I understand that, but I think that is some issue we really have to look at, particularly with the San Diego existing ADU arrangement. I think it's going to
Agreed.
create a lot of clutter, a lot of parking on the streets and change the appearance and living of a lot of neighborhoods. But I welcome this one because it is an added space for an added unit, but assuming that there will never be a need for 2 additional parking places for that additional unit.
Right.
Mandy and then Paul Webb. Oh, I'm sorry, Joe, did you want to respond?
I was just going to say, I agree with what Sam said, and that's one of the discussion items that Project Review is going to be taking up to bring before the planning board regarding the ADU policy of the Peninsula community. It's complicated.
Mandy?
Can you just tell the group, what was the height of the backyard ADU?
Yeah, I can take you down there right now. Our proposed height is here, and this is from grade to top of guardrail, and we're at 24.8.
24.8, okay.
Yeah, I was going to comment, I walked the neighborhood and this is not going to be, there are other structures in the neighborhood that have somewhat close height for, so this won't be particularly much different than some of the other structures in the neighborhood.
That's correct, Sam. And
thank you.
Yeah, that's correct. It will fit in with scale and mass, and it's a fairly large lot, so it fits fairly discreetly into the backyard and still retains some of the backyard.
Right.
Paul?
And I see Dawn too, Margaret.
Yeah, Paul was.
I actually withdrew my
Paul
hand
was first.
because,
Oh, you did? Okay, I just want to make sure.
As long as you've recognized me, I'll.
Yes, I have.
You do need to address the parking issue in a general way when the item number 4 comes back to us, back to the board after some more deliberation. And I also just want to say, I don't object to this project, but I have trouble getting my arms around an accessory dwelling unit that's bigger than my home.
I agree.
Paul, yeah, we discuss this more and more frequently, it seems.
Yes, and we'll continue to discuss.
And we'll continue to do so. Yes, exactly.
Don Severance.
Yeah, perhaps I misheard, but you said that the floor area ratio was 52%.
Yes, proposed.
Okay, and so maybe I'm misunderstanding, but that would imply that 48% is open space in that yard?
No, the 40% is existing home.
Let's try this again. If the floor area ratio is 52%, what is the footprint of the existing home and the ADU?
So we can go to the site plan and kind of give you an estimate on that.
Yeah.
I think you're like referring to a typical coverage calculation. So if you want to zoom in a little bit, you can see, I don't know that we have that calculated. The first floor is 720 square feet. So we're basically expanding the footprint by 720 square feet of the backyard, of the existing backyard.
Or I guess another way of asking it is, in this diagram, where is the open space?
The existing lawn or open space would be.
Yeah,
this-
the side yard, the
white
deck.
field, right.
Maybe you could just circle that area, kind of move your cursor around that area to illustrate it. Yeah.
Right, so
Add
we
it
have.
down to the house and the
Off to
deck.
the alley, right, we have this existing yard, this existing side yard, existing front yard, and then back here, this along the east property line is existing yard as well, and that's existing deck off of the home.
Don, both the ADU and the existing residence have fairly substantial deck areas, and they almost merge. So it'll have a large seating area. It won't have a large quote unquote lawn area.
Right.
But it has, more than a lot of these ADUs will.
Thank you.
I make a motion to approve.
I got a couple
I'm
questions.
sorry.
Comment. That's all right.
Well, hold on. There's a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? And then Corla, we'll let you re-vote, speak on it.
I'll
Sam?
second.
All right, Sam, and then Corla, discussion?
Yes, thank you. I have one comment. We were all stymied by where's the laundry room, and apparently the applicants don't want it. We were all shocked by that.
Right.
Which, it's everybody's choice. And then also there was some comment and questions about that garage exemption, Rodrigo. Did you look into that?
Yeah, we're adding it in just to avoid any conflicts. So
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Yeah.
Any other discussion before we go to vote on the current motion? All right, with that said, discussion closed. And we'll vote on the motion by Robert Tripp Jackson, second by Sam. Nicole Burgess, you caught me.
No, I was
Went to
saying
vote.
aye. Just aye.
Aye? Okay, great. So you're voting already. All right, all those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All those opposed. Put your little hands down, guys. Those that already voted. All those opposed. Tina, is that a yes or no? Okay, you had a yes?
I hand up for yes.
Okay, so no oppositions, and then I abstain as chair. I cannot vote.
So Margaret, that's a 13?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Andrew.
And motion
Rodrigo,
has
thank you.
passed.
All right, thank you all very much.
Thank you, Rodrigo,
welcome,
for
guys.
attending and providing us with information, and Andrew as well.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Joe, any other
No, there's no other items.
updates?
There are
No?
other
All right.
items.
Can you provide us with your next meeting date and time at this time, or
Sure. Give me a
Great.
second.
just so?
The project review standing committee meets the second Thursday at 3 via Zoom.
Thank
So,
you.
On the
Margaret, that will be November the 11th.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I know you've got some stuff coming down the pipelines. And if anybody would like to attend, that is your opportunity.
Lots of ADUs coming our way.
Yes, I know. I hear.
There's like 10 of them.
Oh
Sorry. A quick question, what time on the 11th?
Sam, they're always at 3 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Questions for Joe and his team? Nicole, do you have a question for Joe?
I do, and because it's highly likely that I'm not going to make those meetings, but I will put it on my calendar. I just want to say to the team and to that project, as I thought about it more, I don't think ADUs have to worry about water on site, but it's really, really valuable. I've just put in some underground rain tanks, and it's really valuable if that applicant is even still here to think about putting that rain tank in during the construction time. After the fact, it's a lot later. So if they can try to, encourage our residents and our people that are applying for these ADUs to really consider their water. So just wanted to add that in. So thank you to the team that looks at these projects, Joe
That's
and
a
everyone.
good comment, Nicole.
Thank you.
All right, good job, Joe and project review team. We appreciate your efforts and we heavily rely on your input. So we thank you.
You are welcome.
All right, thanks. So let's moving right along really quickly. Caleb and Anastasia, thank you. We're getting to you here in just a quick second. In the meantime, informational items. Corla, do you want to lead us on discussing some upcoming CPC items that are super hot topic items coming our way?
Well, I'm turning that over to Mandy. I had an emergency last month and then she'll be taking over for me again this month as I have a planned vacation instead of an emergency. And the only thing that I will announce about CPC is the November meeting will be on November 30th. And that's a change so that Joe LaCava can come and talk about the changes coming to 624. Normally it would be the week sooner, but November meeting for CPC will be November 30th. And Nicole graciously did September, and she's going to do next week Nicole, oh my God, Mandy, last month and is going to do this month. And I thank her so much. And she has the report.
Yes, thank you. And as I get the emails for meetings, I will provide that to the board because it is open to the public. As board members, you can attend these meetings yourself, and I encourage you to do so because there's a lot of stuff coming down the pipelines that I'm sure Mandy will let us know.
Join the meeting.
Important to have representation for your own knowledge. So I'll send that your way. Mandy, thank you for attending as we definitely need representation. Do you want to give us a quick overview?
Yes, I just like Corla stated, the council policy 600-24, there's going to be several changes to community planning groups. And those are coming from the city. So I encourage people to get involved in that conversation as they do have an impact on our work in the community. The second item that I wanted to talk about was spaces as places. This was an action item. There was an update to the spaces as places presentation that was in the August meeting. They just wanted to provide that the calculation for the annual fee is $20 per square feet times however many square feet is used for that space. And that will calculate the annual fee for the businesses who wish to utilize this program. There's an exclusive use fee that is still being developed. So there's no public, so there will be more work on that. But there was concern that the public utilities would be affected by businesses that were wishing to utilize this program. And we've been reassured that these areas, that the public utilities in these areas will not be impacted. And also that the burden to remove the structures for these spaces will be put on the business. The areas that will be considered for these spaces would have to have a speed limit lower than 30 miles per hour. And then areas that are eligible, the city will be eliminating the street trees to increase the visibility of these spaces. So those are a few of the updates regarding spaces as places. An action item regarding the 2021 code update. This was an action item. I have attended previous meetings and I wasn't intending on voting, but Wally and Tony Kempton did assure me that I was eligible to vote. And so I did. And there were several code amendments. There were a total of 49 that were presented, and there were 3 that came up with concern. And Nicole mentioned one being the code amendment number 34 regarding drive-throughs, and with regard to the, hold on, let me reread this, sorry. The ones that they had issues with were regarding code amendment number 17, which was a general zoning amendment that had to do with dairies and how they are defined in commercial zones. And the code amendment for number 32, which was also a general zoning regarding the posting of a public notice on the development site as required for many types of permits and processes. The current regulations do not specify the size of the material of a notice, so posted notice are not always readable from the street or protected from the weather. It also adds requirements specifying the size and material of the posted notice as well. And then the third item that was amended was item number 34. And this was regarding transit priority area implementation regulatory reform to implement the city's climate action plan and active transportation policies to achieve Vision Zero and ensure, this talks about bicyclists and pedestrians in transit priority areas, but it was talking about prohibiting drive-throughs and TPAs to encourage more active travel and improve the pedestrian experience. And I voted yes to remove these because the community concern was that they needed more time to review these. I'm environmentally conscious, but the concern was how they were calculating those zones with the TPA. The walkability and how they were calculating that. There was some confusion with that, especially with residents that live near canyons. They would identify that they were within a TPA zone, but the factor of the matter is that it didn't really qualify to be a TPA zone, a transit priority area. And so they wanted to send it back to get some more community input and come back next year with the code amendments for consideration. And then the final item, I know we've been talking about ADUs. There are several organizations. We have had Neighborhoods for a Better San Diego come to our board and present. We have not had a position on this. I did vote yes to support this ADU or their ordinance recommendations that were made because it is going before the mayor as well. And I don't know if we will be, Corla?
How did the CPC vote? What was did that majority of members vote yes on that, Mandy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they did. Yes, that was supported.
Yeah, thank you.
And then the next CPC meeting will be held on Tuesday, October 26th at 6 p.m. And I will be presenting along with Carolyn Chase from Tree Watch San Diego. We're there to present on the inadequacies of the city's urban forest policies, as well as requests for advocacy for trees in the community planning from the community planning groups with regards to the city climate action plan that is coming up for review. And I would highly encourage anyone who's environmentally minded to get involved in that process. The concern that I have with regards to trees is that, for example, with the ADU ordinance, the setbacks or the easement that they're allowing is 4 feet. And with regard to trees and the goals that we have, we're trying to achieve tree canopy, like an umbrella. And that takes several years to achieve. But the concern is that with the San Diego's ADU ordinance is that they're creating very little place for us to plant trees that can achieve canopy. And so there is concern, and Councilmember Sean Elo Rivera has voiced those concerns about the impact to our urban forestry that these ADU ordinances possibly will have. So I encourage everyone to get involved in that. Again, thank you, Corla, for giving me that opportunity. And I look forward to representing the board next month as well.
Excellent work, Mandy. Good job. Thanks for representing us. Really quickly, board members, I know we're getting tired. We're almost there. Stay with us because we have one more board initiated item. I need everyone to be able to vote, but really quickly, this is an amazing next informational item. Caleb and Anastasia, I'm really, really proud of this because this sets the bar for planning groups for the future generations to get involved. And I'm a big advocate and proponent of setting the step zones for our future to get involved in volunteer work. And I'm really excited about this next informational item, which is brought to us by the Environmental Subcommittee. And Mandy, can you take us away with this awesome
Yes, I just
presentation?
Sure. I wanted to take the time to introduce the 2 high school student liaisons that we selected at the Environmental Subcommittee meeting. I want to welcome Anastasia Birmingham and Caleb Brokart. Thank you for showing interest into the civic work that we do here at the Peninsula Community Planning Board. And so I have shared this opportunity. I put the word in with Tracy and the OB Planning Board. I really believe that we need to get our youth involved. And I want to give them the opportunity. I know it's a school night. I'd like to give them the opportunity to just briefly introduce themselves. They both go to Point Loma High School, and I'm very impressed with these two children, and that they're wanting to get involved in politics and do their part for their community. So Anastasia, you have the floor. 3 minutes.
Hello, I'm Anastasia Birmingham. I'm a 10th grader at Point Loma High School, and I recently became one of the 2 student liaisons on the environmental subcommittee. And I really think this is an amazing opportunity. I'm very grateful to even be talking in front of all of you right now. I think climate change and environmental issues are really at the heart of a lot of other social issues. And I think people who care about social justice, public health, economic stability and all that really need to focus on environmental problems, because it will, in the next 2 decades, it really will begin to take shape. And I really think this is a great way to get involved personally. I do a lot of volunteer work with certain organizations, but I think this is really a way to focus on the environmental aspect of all this. And I really hope not only do I learn a lot in this experience, but I also get a chance to really get involved. And I'm really grateful to all of you and the people in the environmental subcommittee. And overall, I want to just say thank you. And I've learned a lot in just this short meeting. So yeah, thank you. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much, Anastasia. Caleb, you have the floor.
Hi, my name is Caleb Rogar. I am a junior at Point Loma High School. As Anna said, I am very fortunate and I'm very appreciative to be here today to speak to all of you. I have been passionate for the environment my entire life. I've been to a different national park since the age of 7. I've always been involved in the environment. Even though San Diego isn't widely known to have the most trees per se, we do have beautiful coasts. I also drive up to Julian, to Ottawa, to hike there, to get more mountains and trees in area. But for San Diego itself, I feel like it's such a big issue here and throughout the world, but I think it's what makes it a special place is that we care here. And I think this, not only the environmental subcommittee, but the PCPB in a whole, I think that really shows that sense of wanting to do more and wanting to do better for the community. And I think that I'm very fortunate to be here again, and I'm very happy that I have the ability to learn from all of you wonderful people. And thank you.
Awesome, thank you. I really, go ahead, Robert.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were we all that articulate in the high school?
You know, these kids have it together.
They're fabulous, and congratulations to them for getting involved. It's really
Mandy,
true
do you
that-
want to go ahead and give the board a quick synopsis of like what the plan is for these 2?
Yeah, I was about to share. We're putting them to work. You know, they can't vote, but they can be a part of the process and contribute to the narrative. And so we want to help guide them in this process. So our project to them is to help them build up a case with regards to like a letter of recommendation for an environmental issue here in the community that they would like to see addressed. And we will help facilitate that process and guide them in that and bring those recommendations to the board before the next election cycle, hopefully, so that we can continue the momentum that we have this current board and just set them up for success and empower them to get involved and to see that they can have tangible change in their community. So I'm really encouraged with the kids, sorry, you're not children, young adults that are getting involved. I've got an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old, so I'm surrounded by these kids, but I just really want to thank you for showing interest in your community. That is going to take you a long way if you continue to have that mindset. So thank you again.
And at the environmental meeting, they were both very excited to attend future planning board meetings and get invested, provide feedback to us. And I really like that partnership, Caleb and Anastasia. Any questions from the board or comments for these two? They're ready to answer any questions here.
Well, get their friends involved too.
Yes, Robert. All right, well, Caleb.
Mandy,
There we go, Paul.
Yeah, I just wanted to say to Robert, I grew up in Los Angeles, so by the time I was in high school, I was well aware of particulates.
Cool.
I know this is listed as an information item, but do we need a motion to approve these or accept these?
We do. We eventually do. I think, Paul, I mentioned that at the last environmental subcommittee, we definitely need approval to add them as previously.
Then I would make a motion to accept the generous volunteer opportunities that they're willing to sit through meetings such as these, and that certainly represents a commitment to the environment. To
Love that. Do I have a second on Paul's motion? Robert Tripp Jackson seconds that motion, Mandy, to have these new students be part of your committee, and exactly what Paul Webb mentioned in his motion. I think that's excellent. All in favor? Let's take a vote. 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I abstain. So Joe, I think for the record, it's been 12 votes with my abstention has been 13 total. Thank you for pointing that out.
So it's 12.
It's 12. Yes.
12 on
Just
everything.
to be corrected. Brad.
Actually, I think it's 13.
Is it 13?
Well, because I didn't vote just now because it was, I'm totally in favor of the two additions. It's just, we took an action and it's an informational item, and I'm not trying to be a wet blanket or anything like that.
Good point. You are absolutely correct. We cannot take action on an, nope, you're right. Thank you, Brad. So you'd have to put this on the next agenda, Mandy.
Right. I mean,
I'd actually like to further clarify, because again, we board approved the process at the last meeting. So there needs to be better clarification, I think, from Fred, excuse me, thank you, about what, if we've already approved that. Because my understanding is we made that motion last month, and we made the motion to approve the process, and that we were going to pull from the hat. So I didn't realize that there would be further board approval of whoever got selected from those.
Right.
They should hold on. Raise your hands, please. Yeah, Brad, go ahead.
No, I think that they should just, I agree with Mandy. I think that they are just sort of automatically on that committee, right? I mean, and you're just introducing them. And I wanted to thank them both because I think they're gonna fresh blood. I mean, they're gonna give us a perspective. Yes. This is a planning board for the future. And a lot of us aren't going to be around, and a lot of decisions are being made that are going to impact Caleb's life and Anastasia's life. So I'm totally in support of you guys being on here. I think it's great, and we're going to learn from you too.
Thank you, Brad. Paul Webb, then Tina.
Yeah. And I recognize, as I said before, that this was an informational item, and I didn't really mean my motion to be an official action, more of a ratification, recognizing the qualifications of these two stalwart environmental advocates.
Thank you. I really appreciate everyone's support for
Tina.
this initiative.
I was just gonna say, I agree with Mandy and Brad. I mean, no offense, Paul, but I mean, I know you weren't really trying to cause issues here, but I think we've already discussed this issue for several meetings prior, including actually last year when we were discussing having these advocates, high school advocates, come on. So the processes are already discussed. So I believe that us keep re-upping them and
Join the meeting.
And I can't hear. Are you there, Tina? Can you?
I was talking. Can you
Oh,
not hear me?
sorry, we can't hear you because you're coming in and out. There we go.
Oh, where did I leave off at? Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can.
A Verizon commercial, I guess. Okay. So anyways, I was just saying, I agree with Mandy and what Brad was saying. I don't think we should rehash the issues of having them reappointed or reselected or whatever, or I don't know, reappointed, whatever, for purposes that we've already discussed this for many meetings, and actually in COVID too.
All right.
That's my point.
So to be fair, I don't think we discussed, as you all know, we approve everything with the main board. And I said this at the environmental subcommittee meeting. That's why I asked Mandy to bring these candidates, these individuals that were approved by the subcommittee, to this meeting to speak for the board. I mean, the process, yes, has been discussed. The process has been approved, but we never said go out and pick 2 students and you're good to go and all that good stuff. Anybody that's involved with the Peninsula Community Planning Board, which includes these 2 students that we're so thankful for, definitely has to come back to the board. And I think that's where Paul was going, was with just process in general. And you know, for the record, making that motion to have these 2 students that actually represent the PCPB board, high honors, on a subcommittee. So I think that's where we were going with all this. And again, it's just natural process, natural, you know, PCPB guidelines and rules and regulations. Anybody that joins a subcommittee, which would include the students, would have to be appropriately motioned into these positions. So that's where I think that came from. So Brad, you said it, we're good to go. We trust the system. Any other questions, comments?
No, I'm gonna just ask that the students, if they do need to leave, that they're more than welcome to leave, because it is a school night and it's getting late. So if they need to leave, I respect that. Thank you.
Yes, but we're so excited to have you, Caleb and Anastasia, and we look forward to seeing you at the subcommittee meetings and our PCPB board meetings.
Thank
Margaret,
you.
I just want to welcome.
Thank you.
Well, Anastasia and Caleb to the.
Thank you, Nicole. Yes. And so we'll see you soon. Oops, let's move along to our board initiated action item from the Traffic and Transportation Subcommittee. Mandy.
Sure, let me go ahead and pull up my screen. I can share the screen, right, Corla? Do I have the screen sharing capabilities?
Yes,
okay, thank you. One moment. Okay, so this is a letter from the Traffic and Transportation Subcommittee considering approving a PCPB letter requesting safe pedestrian facilities along Scott Street. So let me go ahead and share my screen. One moment. Okay, everyone can see my screen. All right, this was a continuation of a conversation that we had. I want to thank the subcommittee. We've talked about traffic safety mitigations around this area, and it got sent back to committee because it was brought to our attention that our original request for the pedestrian in the area along Rosecrans and Scott Street and Emerson had been a prior request that the board had made before I was the chair of the Traffic and Transportation Subcommittee. So this is regarding Scott Street, and we're requesting that we ask for pedestrian and bicycle improvements to be made on Scott Street between Talbot Street and North Harbor Drive. This builds on a prior request from our board to the city in January 2018 to make it safer for pedestrians to cross in this corridor. Scott Street is 4 lanes wide, and the traffic volume and speeds fluctuate widely depending on time of day. And there's currently a lack of accommodation for foot traffic between the hotel and commercial district and the harbor waterfront. Between Cannon Street and Harbor Drive, the community supports a modification to the roadway to provide one vehicle travel lane in each direction, including a separated and protected bikeway. Painted bulb outs to create perceptually shorter distances at the crosswalks is highly recommended. This approximately 0.5 mile corridor is an ideal candidate for a quick build bike lane and can be done immediately. Between Talbot and Cannon, we're requesting Class 2 bicycle markings. It helps connect pieces of the bike network between Harbor Drive and Rosecrans, strengthening the bike network throughout through the peninsula. Changing the road configuration of Scott Street is supported in the Port of San Diego Master Plan and in line with the city's Vision Zero and climate action plans. Reducing vehicle travel lanes and shortening the distance for a pedestrian to traverse will help connect community members and guests of the hotel to restaurants, the waterfront, and other nearby amenities in a safe and traffic relieving manner. And signed for Fred. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the share, if that's okay. I'd like to go ahead and open it up.
Really quickly, Mandy, do you have any community members? I'd like to start with community members first.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Are there any community members here?
Just so the board can listen to them first.
Oh, hi, Andy.
Hi. Thank you. Andy Hanshaw. I am with the San Diego County Bike Coalition, but I serve as the city's chair of the mobility board. So thank you for the work that you do at the neighborhood level here. And it's my neighborhood, first of all. I am a 20-year resident of this very corridor on Talbot and Rosecrans, and a 20-year commuter along Scott Street to Harbor Drive. And I can tell you firsthand that it has become increasingly unsafe, not just for bicycling, but for the pedestrians, as was mentioned, with high speed or higher speed traffic and limited crossings available. So I live in this neighborhood. I walk my dogs in this neighborhood. It's definitely become increasingly unsafe, and I really support this this idea to add safety enhancements on Scott Street in this section of Scott Street. It's become a very nice commercial area. My wife operates 2 businesses in the area, and there's been a lot of businesses that have come, and it's become a bike friendly or a walkable, bikeable community, but it has to be made safer to encourage less people to drive and more people to walk to these businesses and to their neighborhoods. We all know what the trouble that Rosecrans presents for biking. I can tell you it's a challenge. I won't take it. As a very experienced bicyclist, the option of taking is always to take Scott Street over Rosecrans, and Scott Street could be made better by this opportunity. So I think Scott Street, has tremendous potential to be a complete bike boulevard in my mind. But this is a good start, and I really appreciate the committee's consideration of this. The width is there, as was mentioned. I think there's plenty of width to add a bike lane and to add some pedestrian enhancements, and it does complete a gap in the network. A safe, complete bicycle network is something that we're working throughout the city. And if you can just connect Harbor to this community and to this businesses down near Shelter Island, I think you're doing a great thing, and you're connecting up to the Bayshore Bikeway as well, which is an amazing bikeway that circles the San Diego Bay. So full support from me personally, and I look forward to helping any way I can to make it happen. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate you attending the meeting, Andy. I appreciate your comments. I'd like to go ahead and open it up for board discussion. Any comments? I also have a map if anyone would like me to share that with the group as well. Go ahead, Brad.
Thank you. Really good letter. Totally supported that. I was wondering if you would be open to making some small changes.
Sure, where were you looking to
Well,
make
where it
friendly
reads,
edits?
first paragraph, it says this builds on a prior request for a board in the city of, to the city in January of 2018 to make it safer for pedestrians to cross at Emerson Street. Then that goes back, that refers back to the January letter, so they don't have to look it up. So the
Okay.
people, you know, somebody like Gary Pence or somebody is gonna go, oh yeah, that's right. Because that's where the Continental Crosswalk and flashing beacon are already approved.
Mhm.
But the problem is that you can't do where they're really stuck on this 4 lanes and flashing beacons sort of don't work. And in the next paragraph, and again, I'm just trying to make, I totally want this letter to go out, but, and it also refers to the 4 lanes on Scott, but then on the second paragraph between Canyon, it's actually more like Shelter Island, but the modification of the roadway to provide, it's not really Canyon and Harbor Drive, it's more like Shelter Island and Harbor Drive, because there already is a Canyon to Shelter Island Drive, you know, there's that 1 block and it already is 1 lane going in each direction. But if in talking to Gary Pence, he was referring to that they don't even have this as a template anymore, this 4 lanes, red curbs, no bike lanes. So their new template would be, as you're stating here, to provide 1 travel lane in each direction, and then to say with a center turn lane. Because if somebody reads that we're trying to get them to change it to 1 lane each way without an option, I'm just trying to make it a little bit more clear.
Okay.
And incorporating a separated and protected bikeway. So again, minor comments about the letter, but just trying to make it seem to be a little bit more clear. And so when it gets to the traffic department, they kind of understand what's going on.
Okay, so can you be clear as to what changes you're wanting to make?
Okay.
Which paragraph?
First paragraph, just to
Okay.
say Scott Street instead of corridor there, where make it safer for pedestrians to Scott, because it's already approved, but they just can't put that crosswalk and beacon in on the first paragraph there where it says, and the letter was written in 18 where we asked for Emerson, you know, the crosswalk to be at Emerson, which is, you know, where Point Loma Seafood is. It's the middle of those blocks. Seems like we were trying to do that corridor there from Roseville across. So it seemed like the spot to do it. And since it's already done, I was just trying to, instead of, it seemed vague saying corridor, and I thought Emerson would be more specific and would resonate.
So instead of corridor, you want to change it to cross? I guess, can you
For
put the,
pedestrians to cross at Emerson
to
Street.
cross at Emerson, to make it so to cross at Emerson instead of in this corridor? Okay.
Right. Is that okay? I mean, is that make sense?
Yeah, I'd like to open up, Robert, Nicole, Matt, are you okay with that amendment?
I would like to ask that if it's going to be amended, we vote on the amendment. I'm not sure, with all due respect to Brad, I'm not sure that it makes it more clear to me. It makes it more confusing.
Let's continue with the discussion on the letter, and I think Paul Webb had his hand up too to make comment.
Well,
Before we go to vote on anything.
Let's stop. I just need to clarify Brad's request. You wanted to change in the first paragraph to cross in this corridor to cross across Emerson instead.
At Emerson.
Oh, cross
Yeah,
at Emerson. Cross at Emerson. Okay, thank you.
That
And
was
then
the
what was
prior
the
request in
second?
18 was to cross at Emerson. I was just trying to make it clear.
Okay,
And then
so
the next one would be to basically your one vehicle in the next paragraph
Okay.
Just to make it clear that there's a center turn lane for somebody who's reading this letter and in the community and doesn't really get it. I mean, it's a modernization. So with a center turn lane and incorporating a separated and protected bikeway.
So there would be a separate, not to exclude a separate turn lane.
To include, yeah.
Can we,
Hold on a second, Nicole.
Okay.
Let's do one person at a time, please.
Let's do a separate turn lane. Okay. All right, thank you. All right.
That it?
now Paul
Brad,
can
for
go.
you?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so let me just control the meeting if you guys don't mind. Paul Webb and then Nicole Burgess.
I agree with most of the suggestions that Brad has made, but I would point out a couple of things. I really do feel that if we're going to reduce this to one lane in each direction, you do need the center turn lane. Between Talbot and Cannon, I'm not sure about whether we need bicycle markings there because I'm in this area all the time, both on bicycle and in a vehicle. I think most of the people going down Scott Street on a bicycle are turning on Shelter Island Drive and heading down towards Shelter Island. I don't see a lot of bicycle activity westerly of that. And it's basically not a commercial corridor. It's mostly residential past there. Not a lot of traffic, either cars or vehicles. And it's reduced down to one lane in each direction anyway. My final comment is I'm really reluctant to make specific requests for projects. I mean, building projects, building bulb outs, building other things without a traffic study to see what the effect would be on transportation in this area. That concludes my comments.
Andy, do you have any comment?
Would you like to recommend a traffic study be added to the request of the city to relieve those issues, Paul?
Yeah, actually I would.
Okay.
It's going to be Nicole and then Matt, then Sam, then Dawn.
okay.
Sorry, I have to keep us organized. Nicole, Matt, Sam, Dawn.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Thank you. And I appreciate your guys' comments, and I would have welcomed these at the subcommittee. I don't think we need to put Emerson on there on the first paragraph, partly because we are actually advocating for crossing at multiple areas because it's going to be traffic calming. Another point that I wanted to clarify is that when we mentioned quick build, that is something that the mayoral staff, Todd Gloria's staff, Brittany Bailey, has been working on. And she's designed a STAT team. Don't get me what that acronym stands for. It's a 12-person traffic engineer team that is looking at quick build projects. Recently, the city did Pershing. So they actually took the lane and put flex posts up and created a quick build project. And that's really what we're looking for. Traffic studies are going to cost money and time. And we're looking for safe measures, as I thank Andy for being here from the community. I also want to just speak from a bike perspective. Not all of us have lived here. Not all of us know the neighborhood. We like to visit other neighborhoods. We have a lot of tourists in the neighborhood. I know that when coming back from the military, I would turn down Talbot first and go down that block. I do think that there is specification. You could put Avenue de Portugal because that's where it turns into 2 lanes. If you wanted to clarify that, but I don't think it's necessary. Basically, we're looking for a safe bicycle corridor with good wayfinding markings. So I actually promote directional signage as well. So we have a lot of people new to the way of moving through our city by bike. And so this is something that I hope our board can support. And I actually appreciate the way the letter was written to start with. And to have a discussion about center lane, that's something that this team can look for. Like you say, Paul, we don't want to recommend anything. We're not trying to make any big, huge recommendations. We're really just talking about the reconfiguration of what that designation of a 4-lane to a 2-lane road is. Thanks for
Did
the.
you
Well, yeah,
respond,
you
Paul?
are actually recommending things. So you can't say you're not recommending things.
Any other comments?
Ask them to analyze that
Matt,
section.
Matt Shalis, you're up.
Hi, yeah. So I was mostly responding to Paul's comment that, you know, nothing might be needed kind of beyond Shelter Island Drive. But I bike beyond that every day for my commute. I think the class 2 bicycle markings, that's just the painted sharrows in the middle of the lane. I don't think that would really have any negative impacts. But for the people who are using Scott Street as a way to avoid the majority of Rosecrans, especially in that last commercial district on the way towards Subbase, that has a lot of lights and intersections, like Scott Street's a much better alternative. And I think it would help just elevate the visibility of cyclists using that corridor to include, you know, the class 2 designation beyond Shelter Island Drive. So just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you, Matt. Sam?
I was just concerned with how the scope of the traffic study. I have to drive that area because I have to go down Harbor, and from where I live, I have to go down the hill to Scott. And the problem is the 2-lane to 1-lane, people just love to try to speed in front of you. And it really is I think that should be, if we do a study, we should actually look at that, because I don't know how many accidents happen there, but it's amazing if they don't happen, because I know how many people have tried to speed. I just slow up and let them go in front of me. So that 2-lane to 1-lane, I think, is an issue there.
Don Severance.
Yeah, I'd like to compliment the Transportation and Traffic Committee. This is a wonderful idea. I would request that if we amend anything, the amendment be voted on separately. This is not a friendly amendment. It makes things much more confusing. It reads clearly now. I don't think we should add in Emerson and Rosecrans. This is talking about Scott Street, and let's keep it on Scott Street. If you add a traffic study, you are actually voting to kill this proposal. And I think that's a shame. I understand what bulb outs are. I understand what bicycle lanes are. How add language for a left turn lane, it makes it very confusing. And how that fits in with bulb outs, I'm not sure. I like the letter that as presented, it's been shared with us and given us time to think. So I support this. I'm going to vote for this. If there's going to be amendment, I strongly suggest we vote on the amendment itself, because it's not a friendly amendment. Thank you.
Okay, Corla.
Yeah, I have some questions and comments. My first question is, isn't Rosecrans a class 2 bike lane, and how would that affect this request specifically? And then I still have other questions.
Okay. Well, again, we're not traffic engineers, so I would not know that answer. But that is a good question, Corla. Matt, did you?
Yeah, so like this corridor is part of my regular commute. The class 2 markings on Rosecrans don't appear until maybe after you pass Nimitz in the northbound direction. Like this, if it is a class 2 designation, it's not actually visible with the signage that would go with that.
And so does this all fit into the bike master plan, or is this just something that we're adding on? I mean, there's
Well, there are a lot of gaps in the bike master plan. I think what this would serve is connecting up parts that are already part of the bike network, in terms of, you know, Rosecrans having the painted bike lane as you're heading towards Subbase south of Talbot Street, and Harbor Drive over from the airport direction. It's a way to connect those two corridors.
Okay, and I don't need an explanation, but I have no idea what a bulb out is. So just a comment. So I don't personally like recommending specific things like this. We're not traffic engineers. We said it over and over. I'd like them to look at it and decide. And my point comes to the new configuration on Nimitz, which has been reconfigured several times coming down to Rosecrans. And now Sam's right. People are jamming in and going fast. And you know, I don't know if that was studied enough to see that traffic backs way back up. And there's, you know, somebody's always trying to cut me off there. So that's just a comment about asking for things maybe without traffic studies. I am total agreement that something needs to be done across Scott Street. It's completely dangerous. I'm just not positive that we have the capability to make the specific recommendations that we're making. Thank you.
You know, the purpose of these, and I'm just going to say this, I really want to thank Nicole Burgess and Matt Shalis. You know, the city is talking about getting people out of their cars, and we need to provide safe facilities for people to bike throughout our community. And I understand that we're not traffic engineers. We have talked about this area. This is adjacent to Point Loma Seafood. It has been identified as a very dangerous area. And we know that the city doesn't always listen to us, but I think that in good faith that we need to provide these facilities to connect it so that we can enhance the opportunity for people to utilize their bikes and effectively get around our city in a safe manner. And so I really feel like this letter, the city's going to do what they want to do. If it's not something that works, I'm going to trust that the engineers that are employed by the city, they're going to make that call. But the purpose of us is to give our inputs and to give our recommendations. And I don't want to hear this discussion. I know we're not traffic engineers, but our purpose here is to provide inputs and to make change, to progress our city forward with these initiatives that do align with the city's policies. And regardless of your opinions on bike, you know, lanes, the fact is we do need to get out of our cars, and we need to provide safe facilities for our community members to utilize the streets in a safe manner without fearing that they're going to get hit or killed while they're trying to be environmentally sound to get from point A to point B in our city. And so in good faith, we've been talking about this several times, and it's gone back to the subcommittee. We have reviewed this and we've gone back to square one. Let us have faith in the city to take this recommendation and to address it. And if it doesn't meet the criteria, they won't install the mitigation. I ask that this motion, I'd like to second Dawn's motion at this time. I do appreciate the inputs that are being provided, but again, I do feel like these recommendations to throw out a traffic study are just stall tactics. And personally, I'm tired. You know, I go every month, we're dealing with these issues, and then we come to the board and you know, they throw, oh, we're not traffic engineers. Well, if that's the case, then why do we even have a traffic and transportation subcommittee? So that's all I have to say about that. But I do appreciate the inputs. I really want to make a change, but I understand we're not traffic engineers. But if we keep putting roadblocks to find safe facilities for our community members, I can't continue supporting these roadblocks because that's what it appears that they are. So that's all I have to say about that. I appreciate the inputs. I know that we're trying to find real solutions, but we have talked about this so many times. We need safe facilities to connect these bike lanes and these bike boulevards together so that we can have a system that connects our bicyclists around our communities. So that is all I have to say.
All right, awesome work.
Thank you.
Awesome work, guys. And we do appreciate everything you have done and over the years, but there is going to be questions, and that's what we have to be ready to address. So
So there's a motion on the
Any other
floor.
final comments or questions in regards to this? Otherwise, I don't know what the motion was. I didn't hear it. So you're gonna have to repeat it and make it. Other than that, any final questions before we go to a motion? Paul Webb,
You're on mute.
unmute yourself, Paul. Unmute.
I had.
There you go.
Not a question, but a comment. I want to make sure we're
Okay.
all understanding what we're talking about here. Scott Street, south of Talbot, is already a Class 2 bike lane. Scott Street, Rosecrans, south of Talbot is already a Class 2 bike lane. Rosecrans, northerly of there is another, in the bicycle master plan, is a Class 2 bike lane. Scott Street is recommended and proposed in the bicycle master plan as a Class 3 bike lane. I have no problems with ratifying that or endorsing that. I'm just concerned about proposing specific physical improvements that we don't know the impact of. I speak as someone who's very tired of some of the bicycle issues. I first worked on the Bay Route Bikeway as a young junior planner at Caltrans in the 1970s, and it's not complete yet. So that's very frustrating to me. Matt brought up the Bay Route Bikeway. I am the victim of a traffic accident riding my bicycle on Bike to Work Day. So I'm sensitive to the idea of trying to provide the most safe facilities possible. But it's all part of a larger network of streets and bike lanes. One of the frustrations that I've always had in the city of San Diego is a bike lane or a bike route that stops in a very dangerous place. So it leads you right up to a spot that is dangerous. And if you continue back toward downtown on Scott Street onto Harbor Drive, there's a section of Harbor Drive there. I will not ride in the street. I don't like riding on the sidewalk. It's illegal, but I will go up on the sidewalk to ride because it simply is not safe. I would like to see more comprehensive overview of what we want in the way of bicycle facilities, rather than looking at 4 and 5 block segments. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
I'll just agree that our bicycle master plan is totally outdated. It's from 2010, 2012. So yes, we are trying to be proactive and progressive than what our city bicycle master plan calls for. I just also want to clarify, quick build means quick build. It is actually just temporary stuff. So if we didn't care for it in a year and it wasn't working, it actually can go back to the original. So just be mindful that we're really trying to progress safe, connected networks. That is exactly true what we're trying to do, Paul. And so, yeah, thanks.
Well,
Go ahead, Paul.
A question, they're building the bulb outs on West Point Loma Boulevard and Bacon Street right now. Those are permanent improvements.
Those are permanent improvements. That's a CIP project that we advocated for. That is a roundabout. Bulb outs talking about here would be with flex posts, temporary, to reduce the traffic crossings for pedestrians. Bulb outs, Corla, just so you know, are just an extension of the crosswalk of the corner so that pedestrians can cross a smaller distance across the road. And Paul, yes, I sat on the port. So the port master plan actually has this as a class 4 and a road, that lane configuration. And, that hiccup where it hits North Harbor Drive is something that I advocated 5 years ago to have a protected facility in there. That is hard infrastructure. That's something that is so hard to change. We're asking just for something temporary to see if it works and to help alleviate and create safe networks for pedestrians and bicyclists. And I ask for your support, and that's all I can say.
Thank you, Nicole. Back to you, Paul.
Then I would ask that the letter be revised to say temporary improvements, temporary interim improvements for to see if it works.
That's what.
Yeah, that's what quick build is.
Dawn.
We have a very fine traffic engineer that is well-versed in all aspects. This is a letter of recommendation, suggestion from this board. It's no accident that the coffee hub or bike hub is located along this stretch. It's we recognize that the 4 lanes are only go for 4 or 5 blocks, and we're not making any major detriments to automobile traffic. This is about Scott Street. It's not about Rosecrans or Nimitz or anything. It's creating a broken link in the bicycle network. It's bridging the gap. And for pedestrians, it's much simpler to cross the street where there's a bulb out. You're only exposed to automobiles coming at you for a shorter distance. This is all Scott Street, is where a lot of fishermen cross at 5, 6 in the morning in the darkness. I think this is a wonderful thing. I move that we vote on this letter as printed without changes.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, now discussion, because I haven't been able to give my 2 cents, but I am all about safety. I support this, although I won't be able to vote on this letter. It is so important to provide bike safety in our community of Point Loma. I am 100% in agreement with Brad. We have to be more specific with the revisions and changes to that letter. The Harbor Drive mention, that to me, I would have that removed and edited because it's so broad and it's just out of our circumference of community focus. So Brad's changes 100%. Paul as well made some great mentions. He is a biker or cyclist himself. So we should kind of respect his suggestions as well. I wouldn't approve the letter as is. I would approve the letter with Brad's suggestions if I was able to vote. And again, the Traffic and Transportation Department, especially to Mandy, she takes great passion in finding solutions for the safety of children, cyclists, pedestrians, you name it. Thank you, Mandy, for doing that. And to the committee, I've seen the work, so it doesn't go unnoticed. So just know that we're here as a board to support you. But that's it. That's my 2 cents. I can't vote, but I would highly recommend considering changing the verbiage in that letter. So right now there's a motion to send the letter as is with no changes by Dawn, seconded by Mandy, and then any other final comments?
Call for the question.
There we go. All those in favor, raise your hands. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those opposed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a tie. So I make the final vote. And I'm going to oppose the letter because it needs some revisions.
Well, I call for the count. Do we have 12 or 13 eligible to vote?
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Joe's having some technical issues and he just emailed me, and let me just be sure I'm reading his email correctly here.
I thought he was offline, so I didn't.
Now, he's now on his cell phone, but he wants to vote yes on this.
It's a yes.
So Joe
Okay,
is
so
yes.
Let's retract I'm going to count.
Send
All
me a
those
text
in
message,
favor.
if that's right.
All those in favor. 1, 2, Matt? Raise your hand. Yes or no?
Sorry, I've got a medical emergency. What's the vote?
We're just retallying.
I gotta go.
All right. He voted yes originally.
Okay, no problem. Tina, 1. Okay, so 1. I need hands up for yes for letter as is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you said Joe's a yes, so that's 6.
I'm calling him right now just to be.
Please call him to say that the letter's going as is.
Email Joe Holisek. I'm a
Joe,
yes,
are you
but they
voting yes
can't
or
hear
no on
me.
this? Yeah. Okay, all right, perfect. I want to be sure. He's voting yes. Joe is voting yes.
So that's 6 for yes. All those opposed. 1, 2, 3. Brad, what are you voting? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. All abstaining. So that's 6 to 5. Motion passed.
All right. Thank you. I do appreciate the support. And again, I do appreciate the inputs. There's just a lot of time and effort that goes into this. I would, again, please come to these traffic subcommittee meetings. If
Can you give
have
us
an
the information
issue-
on your next one?
Yeah. All right. Thank you. The meetings are on the second Tuesday of every month. So our next meeting will be November 9th, I believe.
So get that letter over to Fred, Mandy, Corla.
All right.
Can I ask how many board members do you have on that committee, Mandy? Because I think you're in danger of a quorum over there.
Yeah, we do have quite a bit of committee members, and I want to again encourage subcommittee members to attend these meetings, because the last few months I've had issues with quorum or barely making it and having to call people while they're on vacation, which I don't like to do. So I would really encourage, if you are a subcommittee member, that you show up. If you're no longer interested in participating, to just remove yourself from that subcommittee so that there's not issues with making quorum.
No, I'm not talking about that kind of quorum. How many members of the board do you have on your committee, whether they show up or not?
Oh, we have 7.
Okay, then anybody else that attends your meeting cannot comment or vote, because then you're at risk of a board meeting. That's why you got to be real careful about that. Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, for the other
If
he hasn't
like
had
a
that
non-board
many.
member to attend.
Yeah.
Is that what you're referring to, Corla? Yes.
If another board member, if all 7 of your people are there and another board member shows up.
We can't even get all 7 to show
Yeah.
up, so that's not an issue.
Yeah, but it's good to have that disclaimer. Paul.
Yeah, but if you do.
Thank you, Corla, for that information. I appreciate it.
You know, one member has to leave if you have that extra person show up. They can't even be in the room.
Technically, if you read the bylaws,
They can
someone
still
can sit at the
participate.
very back of the room, not say anything, not make gestures or facial expressions.
Yeah.
But that's a rare.
It's not the case. We're struggling.
Yeah, but
Okay, congrats on that victory. You guys got the letter. We're good. Let's move along, because some of us probably haven't eaten dinner yet. PCPB reports. This is important too. Subcommittee reports. Let's go to airport. Paul, do you have any updates for us?
yeah, I do. As Fred's alternate, I attended the ANAC meeting yesterday.
Thank you.
It was not a very eventful meeting, but a couple of things to report. One is that the airport has submitted to the FAA the proposed contours for the Part 150 study, and that's the draft 65 decibel contour that qualifies homes for whether or not they're eligible for the Quieter Home program. They have no timeline for when those will be approved. Once the FAA actually acknowledges that they've been officially submitted, there's a 60-day timeline, but there's no ticking clock for how long they have to respond. The other thing that was kind of important was the airport is proposing to the FAA some revised departure procedures. And this is a little technical. I'll simplify it as much as I can. What they're proposing is a departure procedure similar to what is done at John Wayne Airport in Orange County, where they go pedal to the metal on takeoff, and then about halfway through their takeoff climb, they pull the throttles back. It's a very disturbing way to fly if you're not familiar with it, but it does reduce noise for the communities off the end of the airport. There's a couple of other technical things. If anybody is familiar with the noise dots, they're proposing to take the noise dots that are kind of a gentleman's agreement right now and codify them into an actual departure procedure. Finally, they're also looking at moving one of the waypoints, which are the points that the pilots are supposed to fly over, further to the south of Point Loma. So there will be fewer planes flying over Point Loma after they make that big turn to the south. Finally, it's just an information item. The CCC, California Coastal Commission, approved the permit for the Terminal 1 expansion. The airport anticipates that's going to start relatively soon. They said within the month, which I find astonishing, but that's what they've said. That's all.
Excellent. Thank you. The airport is really, really, really an important update for us. Any upcoming meetings, Paul, that you can share with us or find out that the community can attend?
Oh, well, as I said earlier, the Coastal Commission, at the Coastal Commission, the Navy withdrew the NAVWARS.
Yeah, I did see that.
Postpone that. And that's not going to be till after the first of the year. And of course, that will be a very important venue for the community to make their feelings known. The ANAC meetings are quarterly. So there will be another one. I can't remember the exact date. I'd have to look that up and get back. So they're not on my official calendar because
Can I task you to send the board some friendly reminders for those meetings?
Well, Fred is the actual delegate. I'm the
right, but you're his backup, and Fred's really busy right now.
Yeah. In terms of other meetings, I don't really know of any that would be pertinent to this community off the top of my head.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for your update. Any questions for Paul? Any feedback, input that he can take back? We're good? Let's go to Park and Rec. What's going on with the pocket parks and Park and Rec updates?
Don, do you want to go?
No, take it away. It's 9 o'clock. I mean,
yeah, there's really
something quick and brief.
We haven't received much update from the city regarding our letter, so that's something to be continued. We can talk about that in a future meeting and bring more information to the board.
Is the pocket park getting developed, or that's my biggest question is what's up with that project?
The pocket park has been designed, completely designed. It's been approved. The only hang up is money. We've reached out to Monique Tello. We've gotten kind of a vague response from her. Nothing since the letter was sent out. And Fred did say that the community would be very grateful if the council member were to get involved. At this point, the letter is to the mayor's office to get the mayor's office to be involved. That's how it stands.
All right, thank you. Environmental, anything in additional to your group, Mandy, besides the amazing interns?
Yeah, no, we just added the 2 high school students. We look forward to working with them and, encouraging them to build their project for an environmental mitigation that they'd like to see in the community. With other requests, with our other, with traffic and transportation, sorry, I'm just really tired. With traffic and transportation, I'm also on the Ocean Beach Planning Board Subcommittee for the traffic and transportation. And so at our last meeting, we were told that they had made some requests with regard to the Froud corridor. And those requests have been denied by the city due to them not meeting the requirement for the city council policy with regards to stop sign installation. And so Dan Finn was the neighbor that had come before their board, as well as our board requesting the city to look at the Froud corridor in between Voltaire and Newport, because there are no stop signs there. And what happens is a lot of people utilize that as a throughput. And so I did, after hearing that they had denied the OB Planning Board safety, traffic safety recommendations for that corridor, I reached out to Gary and Tom Landry. They're the traffic safety engineers, and they did also state that, you know, it did not qualify for city policy. So I need to reach out to our council member, because we did approve a letter for the board. It was addressed to our council member. That is what we are able to do. She can override that council policy rule if she chooses to do so. So what we've tasked the neighbor, Dan Finn, with doing, and I've received even more affidavits than I had the last time. I've now got about a dozen affidavits of testimony regarding the neighbors that live all along that stretch. And they're experiencing a lot of safety issues with regards to traffic, speeding, people hitting parked cars. And that street is close to Ocean Beach Elementary School. And there are a lot of children in that neighborhood. And so the community, the neighborhoods are all banding together, and they're wanting to get relief from the city for traffic safety mitigations. So that item will potentially come up as an action item at our next traffic and transportation meeting. In the meantime, I will be reaching out to our city council member's office to see if she is willing to override that policy and make those recommended changes. Or see if there's other motions that we can do in tandem with the OB Planning Board, Traffic and Transportation Subcommittee, because that is a shared street. That's our boundary for our communities. And so that's why we have a shared interest. And so those are things that are coming up. And I think that's all I have for now. So thank you.
Fantastic. We heard midway today, we heard OB, any Liberty Station updates? Tina, I think you're the liaison, correct?
Yes, so I don't really have much to report right now. However, I've been talking to Lori Elrick. She's the Liberty Station Community Associate Director of the area. And they just met 2 weeks ago, and they have a lot of reporting to supposedly tell me. And she just hasn't had a moment to give me that information. And I did not make their meeting because I was out of town. However, we're in communication. So I'll let you know.
Awesome. That's a great start. Thank you. Yes, we definitely want to keep them involved. Well, I think in long range planning, that's a big one. I just added some new items today, and I just need my committee to be able to meet. We've been struggling with schedules, and I can assure you we are going to meet soon. So again, I'm going to send another email out with things that, you know, I can get from the board, and we'll put it on our agenda and get back on track with those meetings, because there's a lot of important things coming through the pipelines. Anything else? Any other comments, notifications?
I did just
Margaret, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I had left my office and jumped on my cell phone, and I didn't realize that on a video list cell phone, you had to press *6 to unmute your Zoom call.
That's
so,
okay.
Like, learn something, right? Anyway.
Yes.
You did a little bit.
Awesome. Now, really quickly too, I was going to say here, I think we're all set. I just wanted to also state that Point Loma Association, I had them earlier on the agenda, and the lights are going up. So you're going to experience some traffic during the day, during the week. So if you can avoid that area, they've got the big old drills there, and there's a lot of traffic going on. But the exciting part is that's becoming a little district in our community. So that's really exciting for some improvements and some beautification in that area. And I wish that Robert could elaborate a little bit more, but it is what it is. But it's looking very construction-ish right now. So it's going to be nice by Christmas and the holidays to see those lights go up. Other than that, yes, anything else? Mandy?
I just want to encourage everyone, the redistricting process is going on.
Yes.
The maps, the tentative maps, some of the suggested maps are out, and the mapping tool is available. So everyone needs to get involved. We do need to grow as a district, and some of the recommendations that have come out of conversation is potentially bring Mission Hills, Old Town, and the Midtown area back into the community. Due to the impacts that their community will have with the NAVWAR development that's being proposed. There has been several different maps that are out there. Just be on the lookout these next few weeks. This is my first redistricting process, and it's been very interesting to see all the advocacy and the different groups that come out and posture for their district and their initiatives and what they'd like to see in their communities. So it's been a great experience. I just encourage everyone to get involved and submit your map submissions, and let the city know how you'd like to see our community District 2 grow and for the next 10 years.
Thank you, Mandy. Also, for my final comments, after attending a midway meeting yesterday, that whole development, we're not really getting a lot of information on it. I felt like it was really just an awkward presentation yesterday with no information. I don't know. We need to get more involved and attend those meetings if you can. I will continue to send my friendly reminders to the board. If you can attend, great. Make the time, because it is important for us to kind of bring that back, since a neighboring neighborhood that's gonna affect the peninsula in the future with some of these developments our way in that area. It's going to be very impactful. So our voices are definitely important, and our support in taking action with some of these projects. Anything else before I wrap this up so we can go eat dinner at 9 o'clock?
Yeah. Yeah, just real quick, Mandy, I really appreciate your paying a lot of attention to the redistricting process, and I'm amused by the way some of the communities are reacting. I don't know if anybody saw the Sherry Leitner op-ed piece the other day.
Yes.
We're La Jolla and we're special.
Right.
I think all our communities are special.
Thank you for that comment. I agree 100%. All right, let's wrap this up. Thank you for supporting me. My first time chairing this PCPB board meeting. I'm really happy and just thrilled at the future of this board. And I think we did a lot tonight. So thank you. We missed Fred, and get out there, volunteer, give back, and good job, team. I now turn this meeting at 9:08 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. You did a great job.